on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 1025 The Game. Caroline Fenton is here. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Ian Safar is here. Hello, Ian.
Hello, hello.
I want to start off the show on a sad note. The first ever afternoon producer here at 1025 The Game, Dave Hull, passed away yesterday after a battle with COVID. He leaves behind 2 young kids, another on the way. I never worked much with Hull. When I started here officially, he had already left. But everybody in the building really, really, really respected Dave Hull. And when I hear the stories that Darren, Donick, and Chase were talking about today, and I remember some of the things that Joe Dubin would tell me stories about with Hull, it's a very, very sad story. And so as an entire radio station, we're thinking about him. We're thinking about his family. We're thinking about his kids. And again, you hate to start the show off on this note, but we just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of 1025 The Game. And there's a long list of people who are responsible for how we got there, and he's certainly one of them. So just wanted to send our condolences and our thoughts in what is a very tough time to the whole family. I do also want to thank everybody out there. You know, this summer, Stillman and Company, the Jared and the GM program, or the time slot, or whatever you want to call it, has undergone some massive changes. And everybody out there, as we learned today, has been responding in glowing terms. I can't really expound more on that, but just that the popularity in the summer of the Jared and the GM Stillman and Company program has never been higher. And we thank every single person for that. Every day we try to build on what we created with Floyd. Sometimes it doesn't feel right, I'll be honest with you. But to know that the people of the town are still behind the program means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to the work that we put in trying to do the show every day. Now, to the show. Let's start with this. Titans get blown out week 1. I had a buddy text me today, and he said, I need to know off the top of my head a team that got blown out week 1 and ended up winning the Super Bowl. And I obviously pointed to the 2003 Patriots that lost 31-0 to the Buffalo Bills. Mike Vrabel was on that team. Brady threw 4 interceptions. This was before the Patriots were the Patriots. You know, they had won that one Super Bowl, but then they had missed the playoffs the next year, and here comes year 3 for Tom Brady. He throws 4 interceptions. They lose to the Buffalo Bills. And they started off that year 2-2. And Tom Jackson said on ESPN, they hate their coach. And in a documentary the NFL Network ran called America's Game, they had Rodney Harrison talking about that season. And Rodney Harrison couldn't believe that Tom Jackson, who had no idea what was going on in that locker room, would get on TV and say, they hate their coach. And the team rallied around it. They won a bunch of games. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, I believe, that year. They won the Super Bowl, beating the Carolina Panthers. Heck, they beat the Titans in an incredible divisional round game. And it was the last playoff game in the Steve McNair, Eddie George tenure. So that's a long way to say that getting blown out week 1, as Mike Vrabel knows as a player, is not indicative of the rest of the season. However, there were a lot of glowing issues on Sunday. The defense not being able to stop Arizona when they had to. The kicker not being able to make a kick. Julio Jones, ineffective. Taylor Lewan, beaten like a drum. There are a lot of problems. I've talked about it here on the show. I don't think they have a tight end. I don't think they have a right tackle. And September is never the time that you want to sit back there, look at your roster and say, Bob, we don't have a right tackle. So there are some glowing concerns. And then there's the fact that it was one game. Just like it was one game to the Patriots when they lost to Greg Williams and the lowly Buffalo Bills. I don't even know who's the quarterback of that Bills team. It may be Drew Bledsoe. I can't even remember. J.P. Lossman, I have no idea. So that's how I want to start today's show. Was it one game, or are we concerned for the season? Because we got both calls yesterday. We got both texts yesterday. The odds one game, we didn't come out ready to play. Jared, we will be out there. We will. You know, Election Day is one day And you can spend years campaigning to try to be the president or the governor or the mayor or the school board county commissioner at large. And you can spend years campaigning. And you can do every interview possible. If I'm elected, I will. You can do it every time. Election day is one day. If your people don't go out to vote that day, you lose. Say there's a big state and you want a big turnout and there's a big snowstorm, you lose. That's the seriousness of it. So it's only one game. The Titans have 16 more. Every year, good teams get blown out. The 1999 Titans went to the Super Bowl. They lost 41-14 to the Ravens in December. First night of Hanukkah, I might add. It happens. I told the story yesterday. The 2002 Titans went to the AFC Championship game. They lost at Nissan Stadium to Steve Spurrier and the Washington football team. So it happens. But do you think that yesterday was one game? And by yesterday, I mean Sunday. Do you think that Sunday was one game? Or do you think Sunday was, oh boy?
I think it was a sobering experience for myself and a lot of Titans fans. I don't think that the Titans are this bad all year. This team has way too much talent to be this bad all year. But I do think that it exposed the Titans a little bit. It exposed some of the issues that we were concerned about going into this season. So do I think that the rest of this season is going to go how Sunday did? No. But after seeing Sunday, I think our expectations, we can prepare ourselves to change our expectations a little bit.
Ian, was it one bad game or are the Titans in trouble?
I tend to lean more towards the one bad game than overall the Titans are in trouble. But that doesn't, I do not feel great about not starting the season 0-2. I will say that.
I'm going to ask you guys this question. How do you feel about Green Bay today?
I think it's the same kind of thing. I don't think that Green Bay's season is over. I don't think that, a bad game against a New Orleans Saints team that I was incredibly low on going into this season is going to be indicative of Green Bay's entire season. But if I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, I'm thinking, oh boy. Because I originally picked Green Bay to be in the Super Bowl when we made our picks on Thursday. Right. I don't think I have those expectations anymore. So it is one game.
Ian,
every game matters.
Ian, you think Green Bay's in trouble or you think Green Bay will be fine?
Also, I would need to see them kind of continue this trajectory before I would say they're in trouble. Need to see it for a little bit longer to see that they're kind of headed downwards before I can get there.
Is it wrong for me to look at the Titans and say I'm torn on this?
No.
You all know me. I'm somebody that if I think they stink, they stink. And I said yesterday, they're soft. They are soft. I mean, right now, that Taylor Lewan tweet, I didn't get all worked up about it like everybody else did. Taylor's a talker, so Taylor's going to talk. But, I mean, gosh. When do you ever hear Michael Jordan get up at the microphone? Now, you'll hear Michael say, hey, congratulations to them. They outplayed us today. But when are you going to hear Michael Jordan ever get up there and say, I think Isaiah Thomas has just kicked my butt today. Great job, Zeke. I just never really feel like I'd hear that from Michael.
Right.
But then again, can't compare everybody to Michael Jordan. I'm torn. I'm torn because there's a part of me that looks at this team, and last year I criticized Vrabel to the hill. Now, I like Vrabel, and I think Vrabel is a good coach. Now, I think the coaching staff might be kind of the first thing that Vrabel's got to figure out. I am not in love with this coaching staff. I really am not. Now, I'm not down on the coordinators like everybody else is. But I really don't like this coaching staff. I have never liked Ackerman, the special teams coach. I have always been hesitant to give credit to Keith Carter, the offensive line coach, though we did live in the same neighborhood as we found out during COVID, so, whatever.
Nice.
But, I have been very, very hesitant to embrace Vrabel's coaching staff since the day Dean Pease left. And I think there is no doubt in my mind, and again, I'm not out on the coordinators. I mean, I think the coordinators are still, to me, the jury's out on them. So I'm not dumping on the coordinators, but it definitely didn't feel like Dean Pease and Arthur Smith were coaching on Sunday. So now they got their rear ends kicked too, but I mean, Vince Lombardi could probably coach Atlanta. But I guess what I'm saying is I think Vrabel's a good coach, but I got questions about the coaching staff, and I have questions about the makeup of the team, and I have questions about the draft class. And those are the three things that I look at right now, and I'm like, if those don't improve, this is not going to be a good season. Then that is what you were on Sunday. Blown out every week? Probably not. But if the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator that Vrabel has promoted from within are not any good, then you're not going to have a good season this year. If the draft class doesn't give you anything, and right now it's not, one guy played meaningful snaps in the game, Elijah Molden. He got burned for a touchdown by Christian Kirk. If you don't get anything out of your draft class this year, as in Caleb Farley, your first-round pick, well, he's got to learn how to play football again because he had a bad back. And Dylan Radin's the tackle, who's now a guard, can't even be active on game day, and that continues for the whole year, you're not going to be any good as far as those rookies are concerned, and you need them. The third thing about the team right now that I question is the makeup of the team. Because the makeup of the team a couple of years ago was solid players who didn't have big egos, that were all team first, and that had all been through the bad years. Like Jarrell Casey was through the bad years. Delaney Walker went through the bad years. So when guys like that are leaders of your team, and you have good years, they are the ones that are pushing everybody along because they know what the opposite side of it is. Derrick Henry was never here for the bad years. Julio Jones wasn't here for the bad years. A.J. Brown wasn't here for the bad years. Nate Davis wasn't here for the bad years. Ben Jones wasn't here for the bad years. Lawan was here for the bad years, but as we said yesterday, he's kind of more of a follower probably than a leader. And I look at the makeup of the team, in which we loved the leadership a couple of years ago. Tannehill, Henry, Byard, Logan, Casey, Delaney. We love that leadership. But now you got Julio Jones, and the coach is saying, ESPN's trying to make up a feud between Julio and Vrabel, which we will get into today on the program. But it just feels to me like I don't love the makeup of this team. They don't have a starting tight end. They don't have a right tackle. And depth in the secondary. What's out there? I don't know. Is Bud Dupree going to come in here and actually sack? Now, this guy can run around a little bit, so he did that on Sunday. The guy they play this upcoming Sunday is going to run around a little bit, so I get a little nervous there. I mean, so there's things I don't like that I legitimately don't love. And I look at that, and I'm like, you can't have a good team if Chester Rogers is the most influential receiver on your football team. You cannot have a good team if you're not getting support at either tackle position. You cannot have a good team if you're trying to run a third-string tight end out there. You cannot have a good team if you get almost nothing from your last true draft classes. You cannot have a good team if you can't trust either coordinator. So I'm torn, because I can see it going either way. And that's coming from a guy who walked into this season thinking 13-4. And I'm not trying to overreact to 1 week, but I think the warning signs are there, and it's making me a little nervous. So that's how we're starting the show today. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Do you think it was one bad game on Sunday, and that this was the wake-up call they need, the kick in the bum? Do you think that was what we saw, or are you worried? 615-737-1025. We'll get to your calls. We'll get to your texts, your reaction on this. And again, I just don't love the makeup of the team. And a lot of things are going to go back to that Julio Jones trade. And I say this kind of like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like, I think almost everything's going to be defined by that. Like, was it good enough? Was it bad enough? I don't know the answer to that. 615-737-1025. And coming up next, there is one thing. And I'm worried just like all of you. Even if you're the most, the just most through and through diehard Titan fan, there is something out there that I have learned about this league, specifically teams coached by Mike Vrabel, that we'll get to next. Stillman and Company right here on ESPN 1025 The Game, every day streaming on YouTube and Twitter via Periscope and Twitch. And our program is being streamed courtesy of the law offices of Amanda Grisham. So congratulations and thank you to them. 615-737-1025. Let me tell you about my friends at Invigorate Health. So do you feel old? Be honest with me. Don't think, you're sitting there just thinking, do you feel old? Because I'm about to be 32, and I don't feel like I'm 26 anymore. And once you start feeling old, it's harder to wake up and get out of bed. It's harder to do the things you love. And most of you guys are probably older than me, so you're in your 40s and 50s, and you know what I'm talking about. Well, don't feel old. Go talk to my friends at Invigorate Health. Invigorate Health has everything you need because you'll go there, get a consultation. Their physicians and nurses will take care of you. It's not like all we're doing here is testosterone. All we're doing is this. Nope. It's everything. They're not an ED clinic. They're not a testosterone clinic. They're not a weight loss clinic, but they do all those things. They have IV therapy, which can increase your mental capacity, relieve stress, revitalize your skin and hair, bolster your immune system, and much, much more. They have hormone replacement therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you in mind. Again, not a cookie cutter. This is the program that we do for everything else. This is, no. That is what you need. Okay, your levels are here. We need to get them there. Boom. They've also got M-Sculpt Neo. How it works, M-Sculpt Neo is the world's first and only technology that uses radio frequency and HIFEM plus high-intensity electromagnetic field to eliminate fat and build muscles non-invasively. 30 minutes, and you're talking about 30% less fat and 25% more muscle on average. Those are my friends at Invigorate Health. Again, give them a call today. Go online, invigoratehealthtn.com. Again, Invigorate Health, and I am all about them. So just give it a try. If you're feeling old, you want to feel young, Invigorate Health. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Touchdown, Tennessee, A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown and the 0-1 Titans are headed to Seattle for a crucial Week 2 showdown with DK Metcalf and the Seahawks. And we've got you covered with non-stop coverage all week long.
It'll be a huge challenge. We're going to have to try to recognize how important we believe the keys are.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Sounds fans, Jeff M. here with your Nashville Sounds update on ESPN Nashville. Tonight from Georgia, the Sounds against the Gwinnett Stripers, Braves AAA club, opening up a 6-game series. Sunday night, the Sounds fell to Memphis 6-3. They won the series but dropped the finale. They got a big base hit in the middle innings from newcomer David Fry. And the pitch, and Fry hits one in the air, left center field. That's down in the alley for a base hit. And it'll bring in Kelly. Fry heads to second, in standing up with a double. And it's 6-3. David Fry picks up his first run batted in as a Sound. An RBI double to left center, and it's a 3-run difference. 6-3 was the final. Josh Lindblom on the hill tonight for the Sounds. The pregame on ESPN 94.9 at 5:50 and a 6:05 Central Time first pitch from Gwinnett County, Georgia. This is Jeff Hem with your Nashville Sounds update on ESPN Nashville.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot, great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Hooked in, it headed in! Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
With all the new people moving here recently, we thought it'd be a good idea to explain Genesis Diamonds. If you've lived here a while, you know all this, so bear with us. Genesis Diamonds is not an ordinary jewelry store. It was started decades ago by a major diamond wholesaler based in Tel Aviv. He was the diamond supplier for hundreds of upscale jewelry stores. Then he decided to start selling direct to the public at prices that undercut traditional jewelers in a big way. This no middleman approach caught on fast and disrupted the traditional jewelry business model forever. Today, Genesis Diamonds continues that extraordinary value promise. With the highest quality diamonds, the lowest prices, the strongest guarantees, exceptional service, and a mind-blowing selection of fine diamonds and exclusive designer jewelry. So if you've just moved here from New York or California or wherever, we invite you to discover the secret the locals are well aware of. Genesis Diamonds. Just another great reason you made the move to this extraordinary place we're proud to call home.
Football is here, Titans fans. With 5 locations throughout Middle Tennessee, it's easy to find the perfect corner pub to meet up with friends and family to cheer on your favorite team. Head downtown to watch your Tennessee Titans play on the 50-foot LED screen, or brunch it up next Sunday in Cool Spring with Jared and friends live on location. Stop in any location for game day food and drink specials. Corner Pub, your local family-friendly sports bar in Brentwood, downtown Nashville, Bellevue, Cool Springs, and Franklin. The neighborhood meets at the corner.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Mike, you got blown out in the first game of a season when you were a player and ended up winning the Super Bowl. Kind of what did you take away from that experience, and is there anything you can share with the team in that regard?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm not going to try to get into that right now with the team. I mean, we need to focus on us, but that it's a long season, that you have to continue to improve. Whether you win or lose, you got to move on to the next game, make the corrections, try to recognize how important we believe the keys are. We talk about turnovers -2. We talk about quarterback efficiency, 122 to 75, and we talk about running the football and stopping the run. It was, whatever it was, 130 to 89. So there it is right there. Pretty clear that's why we didn't have success yesterday.
There you go. That was Vrabel. And I actually thought Vrabel was going to talk about, hey, that season we did nope, he didn't even want to go there with the team. About when he was on the Patriots, they got blown out of Buffalo, ended up winning the Super Bowl. Week 1, got blown out of Buffalo. So I have seen Mike Vrabel now coach. Has it been 3 seasons? 3 seasons. I've seen Vrabel coach. 9-7 AFC title game, 11-5 out in the first round. And while there are some things I think that Mike Vrabel struggles with as a coach, I don't think he's great with his challenging. I certainly think there's an issue there. I think sometimes maybe Vrabel's a little too hands-on with the defense. Maybe needs to be a little bit more hands-off. I do think Vrabel's a good coach. And the one thing I've noticed about Mike Vrabel teams is when you are the most down on a Mike Vrabel team, they respond and win every single time. Now, I'm not saying they're going to beat Seattle on Sunday. And everything you saw from Arizona, Seattle's better at. So you look at Kyler Murray, and a lot of people love him. You all know me. I'm kind of like, whatever on Kyler. But you all loved Kyler Murray yesterday. Their
Sunday.
Quarterback's better. Russell Wilson's better. Yeah. They got that one receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, maybe the best receiver in the league, played fantastic. They've got 2. Their running back, Chris Carson, better than Arizona. Their coach, Pete Carroll, better than Cliff Kingsbury. Pete Carroll won titles in college. Cliff Kingsbury got fired. So everything that Arizona is, Seattle is, but better.
On offense.
Well, Seattle's got the safety. Now, they don't have Chandler Jones, or J.J. Watt, but they've got the safety Budda Baker. They've got Jamal Adams. Mm-hmm. So everything good. It's the longest trip in the NFL out to Washington. It's one of the toughest places in the league to play. And so everything is telling you, oh, dear Lord, you played that way against Arizona. We got all these concerns, and now you got to go play Seattle. But I've seen in this league too many times, I've seen in this league the team that you think's got no shot, especially early in the season, goes out there and plays a game you are just totally not expecting. The Titans a couple years ago, Vrabel's first year, Mariota got sacked 9 times against the Baltimore Ravens. 9 times. They went to London, got beat by the Chargers. Things were bad. The team was bad. Things were bad. Everything just bad. They have the bye week. They play the Dallas Cowboys on a Monday night. Dallas was good then. Jason Garrett had coached himself off the hot seat. Dallas was good. Titans on the road in Dallas spanked the Cowboys. And everybody's like, oh my goodness. Well, now you've got a short week, and the greatest coach and greatest quarterback of all time are coming into Nissan Stadium on Sunday. So surely they're not going to knock off the Super Bowl champion Patriots with Brady and Belichick. And they embarrassed them. Corey Davis and Mariota embarrassed Stephon Gilmore. And the Titans beat the Patriots. And nobody thought they could win either game. The week 1 of 2018, Titans go to Miami. Weird game. Couple of lightning storms. It's like an 8-hour game. Delaney Walker breaks his leg. Mariota gets hurt. Blaine Gabbert has to come in and finish the game. They go into week 2 against the Houston Texans with DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless, and they have no starting quarterback. They lost both of their tackles. Taylor Lewan got knocked out with a concussion of the Miami game. Dennis Kelly got sick, and Jack Conklin was still hurt. They had no tackles. They called up a kid, Tyler Merritt's, off the practice squad. They called him up for this Texan game. No chance Titans won that game. I mean, it's just, I've never seen anything like it. And so I've learned in this league that when you are just feeling great and you think your team can do no wrong, bam, loss on the road a couple years ago at Buffalo, Nick Williams drops a touchdown, you lose. When you think there is no way you can win, you fake punt your way to a victory over the division-winning Houston Texans. You beat the Patriots at home. You beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. So, again, I'm not saying that they're going to Seattle and going to win. I don't know that. But I would say that for people like me that watched Sunday's game and thought, oh, dear Lord, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks are up next, this league, especially in this month, is crazy. And I wouldn't rule out that the Titans mentally got their rear end smacked yesterday after physically getting it smacked on Sunday, and that you're going to see a better effort this week, and you're going to see more focus in practice, and you're going to see more guys showing up to practice, and you're going to see guys in better shape on Sunday, and you're going to see guys finishing plays, and you're going to see because I've seen it too often in this league. So as down as we can get on the Titans, and there are some just huge warning signs, I would say the bounce back, especially for a Vrabel team, is I've seen it so many times. So that's kind of my thought right there as far as how down we should or should not be on the Titans.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Titans fans have every reason to be concerned about what they saw on Sunday, but there's 16 games left.
Sure.
Of course, you're not super thrilled about what you saw in game 1, but that doesn't mean things cannot be turned around. And I think to your point, the bounce back mentality is real. Like, if we're upset, if Titans fans are upset about what they saw on Sunday, can you only imagine what Titans players are feeling like about what they did on Sunday, about what Vrabel feels about what they did on Sunday? So we've talked so much about the practice element, the experience element between this team, that they haven't had a ton of time to mesh and to gel. Well, maybe Sunday was that wake-up call. Maybe Sunday showed that, okay, no, we need to get it together. We need to get this chemistry together. We need to start meshing and gelling pronto, because it absolutely showed. So, yeah, to your point, I'm not ruling anything out because I already put money on the New Orleans Saints winning fewer than 6 games this year, and the New Orleans Saints made the Green Bay Packers look like a high school team. So crazy things can happen. The game last night, it was crazy. Crazy things can happen. I do think that Seattle's a better team, but I'm not going to count out the fact that the Titans can bounce back.
No, and that's the thing. Again, this league, especially in this month, you're going to see games. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think Rodgers has screwed the pooch in Green Bay. Like, I think that he's made it toxic down there. And ultimately, I think you're going to see a falling out this season. And
he was Pouty McPowderson on Sunday.
Yeah, he's
the
mad
first
at the coach.
quarter.
He's mad. Yeah. I mean, he's a baby. Green Bay's a better team than New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when all is said and done.
Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Jameis Winston.
Green Bay's a better team than New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the reality here. Buffalo's a better team than Pittsburgh. Like, they're a better team than the Steelers. But they lost that game. I mean, even yesterday, I think the Ravens are probably a better team than the Raiders. By the way, speaking of last night's game, and we'll get to last night's game too at some point. I had the Raiders +4. And so when the kid goes to kick it to tie it at the end, Carlson, I'm kind of like, dude, missed the kick.
Yeah.
I'm like, because if he misses, they lose by 3. And if they lose by 3, I win Raiders +4. But I've been rooting for the Raiders all night. And I hate the Ravens personally. And so I'm watching the game. I'm rooting for the Raiders all night. Kid goes to kick it. I'm like, please miss it.
Well, I wanted him to miss it because it came down to, in my fantasy league, I had Baltimore's defense, and the person I was playing against had Oakland's kicker.
I kind of hate fantasy football.
Well, that's
I'm
fine.
in Caroline's boat. I was going up against Darren Waller. So I'm like, just no more catches for Waller. I ended up winning. But, hey, just end the game. No more for Waller.
I hate fantasy football. I hate it.
Well, don't ruin everything for everyone else.
Well, fantasy football is the one thing that, everybody talks about, and not one person that you're talking to cares about fantasy. They care about their fantasy team.
Yeah.
But, if you're like, oh, man, I had Joe Flacco this week and he threw 4 interceptions, no.
It's oh, bummer.
It's all right.
That sucks. Unless you're playing them that week.
Yeah, then you care. But other than that, and I'm just not a huge fantasy guy. Never been into fantasy football. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your reaction on the Titans coming up. Hey, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. So shout out to Amanda Gentry for all of that. And we will get to your reaction. Plus, and again, I'm not ruling out the Seattle game. Plus, I do want to get to this Gentry Estes column. Gentry Estes had a take about the Titans, and I think everybody feels this way, but I just don't feel this way, at least not yet. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans, Seahawks. The Two-Tone Blue seeks a Week 2 victory in hostile territory. Tune in Sunday at 1 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Cool Springs. We are Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors. Rated #1 for reliability in the under 100 horsepower category, they're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $1,400. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Let me tell you, the most expensive mistake a homebuyer can make is not shopping for the best mortgage. Hey, I'm Roger Moore, founder and CEO of Loan Pronto. It's a fact. Homebuyers who choose Loan Pronto save an average of $3,500. That is a ton of money for furniture or moving expenses. How do we do it? First, we don't charge our clients thousands in junk lender fees and closing costs, and our all-digital platform streamlines the process so you close faster and easier. Realtors love working with us, and we will work with your existing realtor, but don't make a decision about the loan until you call us. Listen, not all mortgages are created equal, and it pays to get a second opinion. Even if you've already started the process, we promise to beat your current offer, or we will pay you $1,000 for your time. So check us out at loanpronto.com or call us today at 615-499-5780. Lower rates, lower costs, and a stress-free experience. Again, loanpronto.com or call us at 615-499-5780.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Mark Howard here to tell you about my friends at Apple Collision Centers. We all know being in a collision is not fun. Neither is all the stress that comes with it. And that's where Apple Collision comes in. Let them take care of everything for you. That's insurance, repair, and your rental details. They've got 3 convenient locations in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Their managers, Tommy Rippey, Daniel Neville, and Chris Brooks and Marty Denson, combined for over 75 years experience. So stop in today and tell them Mark sent you. Online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Stay Golden Restaurant and Cafe has you covered every day of the week with breakfast and lunch served daily. Brunch served every Saturday and Sunday. And now, this month, Stay Golden is launching an all-you-can-drink coffee subscription that comes with bottomless filter coffee every time you walk in the doors. If you join today, you get 2 weeks free. Go to stay-golden.com and use code GAME at checkout for half off your first month's subscription. That's GAME at checkout at stay-golden.com. Stay Golden, Nashville.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole-in-one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Saturday night.
CJ Sapone! He is a phenomenon.
CJ Sapong and the boys in gold continue their road trip when Nashville SC visits Toronto FC. Coverage begins at 6:15
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, in the Game Nashville app.
Mike, offensively, did you think the play calling was an issue, or was it just more of, kind of execution, guys?
I think when we lose and you don't have success, I think it's everything, Ben. And I know that you haven't been here in a while and or been here previously, but, it's always going to be something. It's one guy in a run game, right? We get started and we miss one guy, or, we don't have the perfect call. There is no perfect call. And we have to, as players and coaches, not think that it's going to be perfect. It's going to look dirty. And guys and as coaches, we're going to have to give them enough confidence and trust to go do their job, whether it's a look that they've seen or not seen. So when you review the game, there's always going to be, man, I wish I had that call back. I wish. And we don't get that luxury, so we have to improve and hopefully get going in drives and get the first down so that the plays that we do call can begin to complement the ones that we have called and will continue to call, and that you get into a rhythm, going 3 and out, and being behind on the chains and having negative plays make it difficult.
That was Mike Vrabel, and it's funny listening to Ben Arthur ask the question, which Ben Arthur may as well have just asked the question. Mike, Todd Downing, did he stink yesterday or not? And Mike basically answers that question as opposed to the play calling. Is look, every time we lose, you guys are going to be mad about the play calling, but it's not always about the play calling, which is what every coach says every time that they're asked about the play calling one way or another. Mm-hmm. Now, we have been discouraged on this radio program from discussing play calling. Like, we have just been, Ian, is that the right way to say it?
Reluctant?
Well, I mean, you remember me when we first started this show off, I had no problem criticizing Terry Robisky's play calling.
Hated it.
It's just like the old man, every time we try to talk about play calling, would bring up basically something, which is like, and then he'd say something else, and then, you get owned in every argument because you've never called plays before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he has. So, you get owned by that every time. And so you just, you realize, like, hey, is it the play calling? Is it the execution? Is it the players not being good enough? Was it the pace of the game? I mean, all of those things are fair. And so, again, I have been in the past very discouraged from, ripping a coordinator one way or another. But Gentry Estes wrote in the Tennessean today some thoughts and 3 questions that he has after Sunday's game. The first one, quote, "Who deserves the blame for Sunday's loss?" Gentry writes, "We know we can do it." Or wait a minute, I think that's a quote from someone. Yeah, that was what Taylor Lewan said in August. The Titans did get bashed on Sunday because they were simply not ready to play. It talks about all the different stuff about the players one way or another. Then the second question, what was your biggest concern moving forward for the Titans? Gentry writes, quote, "Todd Downing as offensive coordinator. Space, no question, period, space." So one game, Gentry Estes, the Tennessean, ready to say Todd Downing is the biggest concern moving forward. I'm not sure that's fair. To me, that's not fair. Because first of all, let me say this. If your defense was so bad last year, and I didn't think the defense was as bad as the defense is getting credit for being bad, but if your defense was that bad last year, and they didn't show that they're markedly better, that's going to be the biggest concern. Mm-hmm. If you can't kick a field goal, which you showed on Sunday, you can't kick field goals right now, that's going to be a pretty big concern. If you can't protect your quarterback because your $15 million tackle can't block, that's a concern. If you just traded a second-round pick and are paying $15 million for a star wide receiver and he can't get open, and when he does get open, he can't catch the ball, and when he tries to block down the field, he gets a 15-yard penalty, that's a big concern.
Yeah, because for me right now, the biggest issue that I took away from week 1, not necessarily my biggest concern throughout the entire year, my biggest issue with week 1 was the offense. not necessarily the offensive coordinator. And I think it's so easy to say that Todd Downing is the biggest concern moving forward because it was the biggest question mark. Because even though there was so much talent on this Titans offense, there was always that question looming, okay, can Todd Downing step in Arthur Smith's absence?
Sure.
That was everyone's kind of a question mark moving forward. So the offense doesn't perform very well on Sunday. It's easy to point fingers at Todd Downing, but we discussed it yesterday. There's only so much you can do when you're just getting beat up at the line of scrimmage.
Though we did say he didn't take Chandler Jones out of the game after you realized very early on, hey, Chandler is going to be a problem today.
He could have made those adjustments, and he didn't.
They got sniffed out on the naked boot where Chandler Jones was all over Tannehill. For me, one game, I don't think you can adequately judge a coordinator off of one game. And I don't think you can say that he's the biggest concern going forward. I've seen bad coordinators look like geniuses. Adam Gase, when he had Peyton Manning as a starting quarterback in the NFL, was the guru of offense. Miami hired the guy. He runs Tannehill into the ground and subsequently out of town. They tear that franchise apart, and the Jets bring him in to save Sam Darnold because he's an offensive guru because he worked with Peyton Manning. Think about all the Patriot offensive coordinators. Charlie Weiss, guru. Head coach, awful. Bill O'Brien, guru. Head coach, awful. Josh McDaniels, guru. Head coach. Drafts Tim Tebow, awful. So I understand, and I'm not pointing blame at the players, though I think that that's probably where it belongs right now. And I'm not saying that Downing's off the hook. I think I'm reluctant, to use Ian's word, I'm too reluctant to go bash Todd Downing after one game. One game where I just don't feel like the offense ever had a chance. Now, look, did I think that the first three plays were pretty predictable? Run with Derek, throw it short, punt. Yeah, I did. But at the same time, I don't know what Downing's supposed to do when the $15 million left tackle can't block. I just don't know when you don't give him a tight end. Like, how's he supposed to be more creative without a tight end? Or people that are saying, he didn't get A.J. Brown and Julio Jones enough targets. They never practiced. Like, you can't look at this guy and say, hey, we want you to implement the offense, and we want you to put us in the best position to win. And then Downing's on the practice field every day telling guys what he expects of them. And then Julio Jones shows up, and you're sitting there like, throw it to Julio. He can't get open. When he gets open, he can't catch it. He hadn't practiced. So I'm not holding that against Downing. If the Julio thing doesn't work out, that's a Robinson Vrabel thing. That's not a Downing thing. So, no, he's not my biggest concern going forward. I'm honest. Like, I don't know how your biggest concern right now can't be Julio Jones. Because the thing about Julio, they spent 15 minutes, 10 minutes today on First Take talking about Julio Jones. Julio Jones is the biggest star on the Titans nationally. He's the biggest star. And yet, if he has no impact, that is going to be a domino on the entire team. And it's going to affect him. Like Clowney last year was bad, but the thing about that was it was a one-year deal, so once he went away, it kind of went away.
And I wouldn't say that Jadeveon Clowney's the same star level as Julio Jones.
No. In fact, the expectations for Clowney shot everything through the roof. Mm-hmm. Julio was like 3 times that.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, as it should be. You know, more star power brings higher expectations.
But what if Julio's like not good anymore?
I mean, that is a legitimate concern. And I think we talked about that whenever the Titans, it was either when they were in talks of acquiring Julio or when they just acquired Julio it's very exciting. But what if Julio isn't what he was 4, 5, 6 years ago?
And shouldn't that be the biggest concern to Gentry Estes and not Todd Downing?
I think it's tough for me to say what my biggest concern for the Titans is, but I think Julio Jones is definitely up there.
I mean, my biggest concern is that they suck.
Well,
that's my...
Yes, and I think that Julio would be a catalyst in the Titans sucking.
Yes, and it would only make things worse.
Yes.
It would only make things worse. Unless there's a Chris Sanders and a Derek Mason buried on this depth chart to go out there and dominate. Nick Westbrook-Akina and Cam Batson.
Chris Sanders would go out there. You know it.
Oh, sure. He can't run anymore, but other than that.
That's fine.
You know,
minor details.
He's about, 25 pounds bigger than he was when he played, but just go ahead and run him out there anyways. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to your reaction. I see the calls, see the text. We'll do that coming up next here on Stillman and Company, right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there, 1025 The Game, Cromwell Media. Nashville are helping our friends at WQMV in Waverly rebuild from the catastrophic floods last month. I have no idea what I'd do if I was in those shoes. Wow. Head over to theGameNashville.com to learn how you can help as well, as the radio station suffered major damage to their structure, equipment, and more. We want everyone affected by the floods to know that you aren't alone and to keep being Humphreys County strong. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus. A few isolated showers and weak thunderstorms this afternoon into this evening with no severe weather. Hot and a little bit humid once again. High temperatures in the upper 80s near 90 degrees. A little bit cooler, lower 80s going into tomorrow.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car to meet certification standards. A car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Has she seen an engagement ring she really loves? A unique look from a top-notch designer? You won't find it at just any store, but you will at Genesis Diamonds.
At Genesis Diamonds, we work with the most sought-after designers in this country. We are proud to feature lines like Tacori, Verragio, Kirk Cara, Henry Dawsey, A. Jaffe, Jeff Cooper, Gabriel, and many more.
Since other jewelers can't get these designers, David says beware of knockoffs.
Often stores will result to copying or knocking off a designer ring just to compete with Genesis. And oftentimes, you will actually pay the same, if not more, for that fake.
Why risk it? Genesis has the real deal. Unique, handcrafted, cutting-edge designs and award-winning craftsmanship.
So not only will you get the exact product you wish with the brand you trust, but at a price that you can afford.
Get her the ring of her dreams at Genesis Diamonds.
Every girl wants a designer ring. They don't want Joe in the back room to make a copy. They want the real thing.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
312 Pizza Company is family-owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. And always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open 7 days a week and located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
What's stopping you from getting the original Peloton bike?
I need flexibility with my workouts.
Choose from thousands of classes available 24/7.
It's hard for me to stay motivated.
Programs, artist series, and badges keep you reaching new goals.
45-minute bike boot camp, 30-minute hit ride.
My 45-minute hip-hop ride.
You get all that? For how much?
The original Peloton bike is now at its best price ever. Get game-changing cardio at a new game-changing price. The original Peloton bike, now $400 less. Learn more at onepeloton.com.
Robbie Stanley.
Maybe it doesn't hurt their bottom line this year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on that front.
Joe Rexrode.
5 guys who are on the roster are not going to be on the roster.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Go and sign up to play today. Pick 3 football underdog teams you think will win each week for a chance to win weekly prizes like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or a concert in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com or the ESPN The Game Nashville mobile app and sign up and play today. Silly Underdog Picks brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Okay, your reaction. The question we started the show off with today was whether or not you think, hey, Sunday was just one game, or and then we've got everything else on the table as well. 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Joe texts into the text line and says, the biggest concern for the Titans that I have is can the coaches on all levels be able to motivate the players to practice, show up to practice, and find a kicker?
What do we think about this whole practice thing? This thing's going to take a whole narrative of its own, and I think that I probably not am responsible for perpetuating it, but maybe in part. But it was obvious that they hadn't practiced.
Oh, yeah.
And so, they're going to they're going to practice this week, and they're going to go from there. And as we said, they probably had a plan, and Tannehill getting COVID probably screwed all of it up. But, damn, did they look bad with not practicing. Now, here's the question that I go back to with Julio. AJ's going to practice this year. Nate Davis, Ben Jones, who missed practice, they're going to practice this year. Tannehill's going to practice. Henry is going to practice. Not worried about that. Defensive guys are all going to practice. We were told in Atlanta, Julio, he wasn't interested in practicing. And not only was he not in, it wasn't one of those things, because people will say, well, Steve McNair didn't practice, and Steve McNair couldn't sit down on the flight to Oakland for the AFC Championship game. Steve McNair was the one guy who had the respect of everybody in the room. And he was in his 8th year with the Titans when all that was going on. Julio Jones is on a new team, and he's not Steve McNair. And it's one thing when Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese can look at you not being able to walk and saying, hey, whatever it takes for you to play on Sunday, let's go. And, hey, are you going to come in here to walk through? Nah, I'm good. Which is what Julio did in Atlanta. There is a big difference between the two. And because he makes all the money and because he's the star player and because people buy his jersey, those players in that facility, those young guys, he's impressionable. They're going to be impressionable as far as he's concerned. That's the one I worry about. I don't worry about anybody else. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, I honestly think the Titans play better when it's me against the world mentality. And
100%.
Yes, I think the Seahawks should win, but this is a dangerous game for the Seahawks because the Titans got embarrassed and are a little humble pie last week.
So the one thing Vrabel can't do is what Belichick and Brady were able to do for years in New England, which is keep your focus. Mm-hmm. Keep your focus every game. You just won by 35 on Sunday Night Football against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. You've got the Miami Dolphins this week, and they could keep their focus. And on Wednesday, when they showed up back to the facility, they were focused on the Dolphins, and all that celebrating and all that, smacking each other on the rear end, that stuff's over, and they left it on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Great teams can do that. Michael Jordan could do that better than anybody. You got to put the work in. He said one time, was talking about all of his endorsement deals. And he was talking about, Nike and McDonald's and Gatorade. And he said, the Gatorades and the McDonald's aren't there if I'm not dropping 35 points. Mm-hmm. They're not there if I'm not winning the finals. So all that money and stuff, that'll all take care of itself if I ball out on the court. And so you can keep that kind of mentality. You don't get too high when you win. And I think that is something that Vrabel has not ever been able to figure out about the Titans. The Titans can get too cocky sometimes, and when they get too cocky, they go out there and get beat by a team they shouldn't. See Cincinnati last year. Then when everybody thinks they don't have a prayer, like when they didn't practice for a week leading up to the Buffalo Bills on a Tuesday night last year due to COVID, they went out there and spanked them. There is something about that whole us against the world, or everybody's doubting us or something like that. But what Vrabel's got to figure out is how he can keep that same mentality with the team even when they're winning, because that's what the great teams do.
Shane texts in and says, I am nervous about this season now. Arizona isn't a horrible team, but I don't feel they are better than the Titans. I think none of the guys being on the field at the same time against other teams in the preseason is showing. I understand you don't want what has happened to the Ravens, but they needed to be on the field together before the first week of when it counts.
Do you think Vrabel's changed his approach? And I don't know the specifics about the injuries and who really couldn't practice and why they couldn't practice. I mean, if you've got Ben Jones, a veteran who I think is like in his 9th or 10th season in the NFL, mm-hmm. and Ben Jones has a really badly sprained ankle and is going to have to miss 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks of practice and training camp, but to be ready for the first game, and they tell you, Ben Jones has a sprained ankle, it's going to be a couple of weeks, and he's got, okay. I don't think any of us would be upset with that. I think we'd understand, whatever. But because none of us know, it's like, well, they just didn't practice. It's like we look at it like they chose not to practice. And I don't know how much of that's true and how much it isn't.
And I'm also looking at Julio and that, was he injured or was it, like you called it, loser's cramp? Was he actually hurt? Because in that case, you don't want to put an injured guy out there in practice. But also, it's not like that's an excuse whenever you get on the field week one.
Here's the problem.
You look very not polished.
Here's the problem with Julio that we talked about yesterday. Julio has the reputation for being lazy. And Julio has the reputation for being selfish. And he's got to shed that reputation. I think the fans here look at it like, Julio's our guy and we're not concerned at all and he'll be fine. And yet, I look at it like, people in Atlanta had some really specific, selfish things to say about Julio Jones. And that's not a good sign. And so, I'm all in favor of telling the truth, doing what it takes to win. I'll just put it to you like this. The things that I heard about Julio's habits in Atlanta and his attitude in Atlanta, and I've shared them on the show, a gadget play designed for him and he runs off the field. Times that he was 2-minute drill, I'm good. The times that he was like that in Atlanta, and I don't want to throw John Robinson under the bus for this, but just what I heard from who I heard it from, had Floyd heard the exact same thing from the exact same person, he would have never traded for Julio Jones. And I feel comfortable in telling you that. Like, I feel comfortable to a fact that I am not assuming something that he would or would not. I'm telling you, if he had heard it with his ears, what I heard from who I heard it from, he wouldn't have made the trade. And so when I hear that, I think, okay, Julio does not get the benefit of the doubt with me. And so I don't know how fans feel about this, but he's got to go out there and prove it. And when it comes to the fact that he didn't practice, whether or not that was an injury, when nobody ever talks about any of this stuff, which the Titans refuse to do, now it's going to turn into that reputation we said that he had about being lazy and selfish, and we're going to say, hey, he got a reputation of being lazy and selfish, and here he is not practicing, lazy and selfish. And it's going to be a big deal. And I love it. You know why I love it? Or what I love about it?
What?
I love the fact that 2 weeks ago, when I, hit the alarm and said, wait a minute, we're hearing this stuff out of Atlanta, the fans just completely dismissed it.
So you love that you might be right?
Well, I don't love that. I love the fact that when he doesn't play well, which is all the fans care about, that if he doesn't play well, the fans are going to turn on him so fast. And it's like, where were you, fans? Like, I'm not saying that Julio is selfish. I'm not saying that Julio is not going to work out here. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that is in my mind when all this goes down. When he looks like he's unprepared and not ready to play on Sunday against Arizona. Remember, he told me on Friday, oh, I'll be ready.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course he said that.
But that's that arrogance. I'll be ready. Don't worry about me. Hey, check the back of my baseball card, man. Okay. All right. How many catches did he have Sunday?
Did he even have one?
I think he had one catch.
Maybe one.
I think
6 targets, 1 catch.
I think he had some.
And a 15-yard penalty.
Chester Rogers had a good game, though.
Yeah, he did.
There you go. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Speaking of Julio, Mike Vrabel, I'm called out is kind of a little too strong for me, but Mike Vrabel, strong comments on Julio's 15-yard penalty. And ESPN is trying to turn this into a controversy. Are they right? We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, we're live right here, ESPN 1025 The Game. Hey, as you know, we're all streaming YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. But so just put in Stillman and Company, and you can literally watch the show on YouTube. Do you want a pair of tickets to see the Rolling Stones at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, October 9th? If so, head over to YouTube and subscribe to the 1025 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter for a chance to win to see the Stones. One winner will be chosen on Monday, September 20th. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and week one may be over, but the season's just getting started. At DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off week two, DraftKings is giving all new customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $1 on any football game this week and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new customers $200 in free bets instantly when they bet at least $1 on any football game. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code 1025GAME and receive $200 in free bets when you place $1 bet on any football game. That code again, 1025GAME. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, you must be 21 years of age or older. Tennessee only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. and Friday at 3:15 to hear News 2's Corey Curtis take on all things Nashville sports, including the week's NFL games. All brought to you by Invigorate Health in Mount Juliet. Look and feel your best with IV therapy, medical weight loss, testosterone, body shaping, and more.
Hey, this is Jared, the owner of MTGRT.com. If your mortgage rate is not in the twos, then you need to call me now. We are locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. That's right, you heard it right. Locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. Text me on my personal cell at 615-969-2257 or fill out a few pieces of information on our website, MTGRT.com. MTGRT.com is the proud sponsor of Paul Feinbaum, heard on ESPN 94.9.
The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is going on now. Save up to 50% in every department. Incredible savings on 4K TVs, appliances, computers, speakers and headphones, smart home, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. You won't find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is first come, first served. Ends Saturday at 9 p.m. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Curation CBD. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Curation CBD. Curation means healing, and that right there says it all. Curation is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Curation is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets too. Order yours now at CurationCompany.com. Curation CBD, curated for life.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Mike Vrabel, every now and then, will drop a curse word in a press conference, and every time he does, it's like it makes some kind of headline. And last year, after the Titans lost a game at home against Cleveland in a similarly embarrassing fashion as they did this Sunday against Arizona, Mike Vrabel, Rashawn Evans got a personal foul penalty that really hurt the team, and Mike Vrabel said, "Don't do dumb blank that hurts the team." And I remember everybody talked about it, and he said that was kind of their motto, and I don't have a problem with that. Honestly, I don't. And if we were just streaming and not on the radio, I would say I have no problem with it, and I'd say it all the time. Because that's how I feel about my own life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's one thing that, you make a mistake, you take a chance you shouldn't have taken. Okay. It's the thing when you do something dumb. Like, you do something dumb and it screws up your life or it screws up somebody else's. You just don't want to do that. So I understand Vrabel's point. Julio Jones picks up an inexcusable 15-yard penalty on Sunday, a personal foul, as the Titans are trying to get back into the ballgame. They're across midfield against Arizona. They've got Derrick Henry running the football. It's 3rd and 1, and all of a sudden, Jerome Boger, personal foul, number 2 of the offense, back it up 15 yards, and now it's 3rd and 16. Brett Kern, get ready. Mike Vrabel was not happy with that penalty. Let me say this. Jared Stillman, sitting in Section 214 on Sunday, was not happy with that penalty. Vrabel, not happy about it either yesterday, said this.
From Julio, and maybe did he give you maybe a talking point already about maybe keeping your composure and getting that penalty?
Sure, critical mistake. I don't think that those are absolutely that's absolutely nothing that we coach or teach. So that would fall into the category of doing dumb that hurts the team. Right there in bold letters, goes from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 16.
So Mike Vrabel didn't like it. And guess what? I didn't like it either.
Why would anyone like it?
Nobody should like that. Even if you're Julio's grandma, you shouldn't like that. Now, again, I don't know what Julio did or didn't do. And Boger and his crew, they suck so bad and they sucked on Sunday. I mean, the Titans would have lost if the greatest ref in the history of the NFL and John Hussey, who's doing the game this week, I think is one of my favorites. But Boger's crew is so bad, you never know. But that happened. And it's inexcusable. And Vrabel said so. And I heard it, and I thought, okay. And I remember that Vrabel said the same thing a year ago after a Rashaan Evans penalty. So Caroline texts me today and says, first takes talking about Vrabel and Julio. And I thought, all right, I got to see what this is about. What are they talking about? And I see it is Stephen A. And we all know, Stephen A. is Stephen A. And we see Keyshawn Johnson. And I think it's incredibly rich to have the most diva receiver with the least amount of production of all the diva receivers in Keyshawn Johnson opining on this. Because if you think about diva receivers, T.O. was a diva. T.O. is in the Hall of Fame. Randy Moss was a diva. Randy Moss is in the Hall of Fame. Keyshawn wrote a book called Give Me the Damn Ball and got sent home in Tampa Bay by John Gruden and is not in the Hall of Fame. So I thought it was kind of rich. But Keyshawn was asked about Vrabel's comments, and Keyshawn thinks there might be a little something between Vrabel and Julio.
I would have preferred him to talk to him on the side if it was really about the 15-yard penalty.
Right.
Hey, man, you can't do that.
I agree.
You can't. You're hurting us.
But here's one thing.
But he didn't do that.
I'm sitting across from you, and I can't imagine a coach doing that to you. I just can't imagine it. So my whole point is, since they wouldn't do that, why would he do that to that guy? He must have tried to talk to him already.
He could have tried to talk to him already. Could have. But no, coach ain't going to do me that way, and neither are you.
That's right.
Because if you'd have did that, we'd have been scrapping.
Well, if you did that to me, we'd have been scrapping.
So all of a sudden, Keyshawn saying, why did Vrabel do that? And Keyshawn also talked about the fact that when he was asked about why Vrabel said that, Keyshawn didn't know. Vrabel said that in press conference. Listen to what Keyshawn has to say. Ian, do you have it? Okay, listen to what Keyshawn said when he was asked directly by Molly Quirm, the moderator of the show, why, what did you think of Vrabel's comments? Here's what Keyshawn said.
I don't know what exactly led him to those comments.
Right.
Because when I look at why he got the penalty, he was playing football to the end of the whistle. He was being aggressive at the point of attack. Mm-hmm. He was taking a dude down as his running back was running the football.
Right.
You are taught as a receiver to not look behind you when you block it. Stay aggressive. So when I look at stuff like that, being a guy who's been in the locker room, played the position, understand coaches, I think there's something underlying there outside of him getting a 15-yard penalty that made Vrabel go off like that. Something. I don't know if he hadn't been practicing right. I don't know if he was complaining about getting the football, if he was being locked down when he running his route. It's something other than he got a 15-yard penalty. I can promise you that.
So Keyshawn saying there's something else there that led Vrabel to say what he was saying, which makes me think that they're trying to make this a controversy, right? Like, Vrabel said this about Julio. What do we think of it? Is there? And it led me to ask this question. Were Vrabel's comments that controversial? Like, when you heard that, did you think, he's calling Julio out? Because that's what Keyshawn Johnson just alluded to right there is, hey, if a coach said that to me, we'd be scrapping. If he said that, there's something else there. It's not about the penalty. That's an okay penalty. There's something else there. And I wonder, was there? Like, I just, I know Vrabel well enough, and what do you make of it?
I think if you look at it in the way that Keyshawn Johnson was explaining it, that, there's got to be something else going on, that this was the last domino to fall with Vrabel, that feels a little catty to me in the fact that, okay, all this stuff is building up and I'm going to bring it up in a press conference. I feel like if there were any sort of issues with Mike Vrabel and Julio Jones, Mike Vrabel would have nipped that in the bud immediately. So I don't necessarily know if I buy the fact that Mike Vrabel, there's something else going on between Mike Vrabel and Julio Jones. Was Julio Jones not practicing well? Well, he wasn't really practicing. So I don't know if I necessarily totally buy that. And, what did Vrabel say? Don't do dumb stuff that hurts the team. What did Julio do? A dumb thing that hurt the team. So, was he calling Julio out? Maybe, but I think Julio kind of deserved to be called out. He made a mistake, and that cost the team.
Well, we're talking about a guy who's sensitive enough to throw a fit over being made the highest paid receiver in the league, which is what Julio did.
Yes.
That Julio Jones felt disrespected in Atlanta after they made him the highest paid receiver in the league. So that you do have to worry about that when it comes to Julio.
You shouldn't.
And Keyshawn's a diva receiver.
Yeah.
And Keyshawn takes issue with this. So I hear what you're saying. You're saying, this is like that whole John Hines and Duchesne thing, right?
Yeah.
Like Duchesne hates John Hines, and John Hines hates Duchesne. And no matter what anybody tells you, it's obvious that that's the case, right? Like, we know. We've heard it behind the scenes. We see them allude to it, in the way that they treat each other. John Hines hates Matt Duchesne, and Matt Duchesne hates John Hines. End of story. And I don't need a single source on that because it's obvious. Well, when we talked about that, you said, well, those players, they need to do what the coach says, and they need to, and in theory, yes, that's right.
Well,
but when you traded for Julio, you knew you were getting the attitude, and that's what they're getting here with Julio. And I'm not saying that Julio does resent Vrabel or does resent Vrabel's comments, and that Julio didn't look at it like, man, I really screwed my team up. Like, maybe he does look at it like that. But I'm not a diva wide receiver, and you're not a diva wide receiver. Keyshawn is a diva wide receiver. The definition of the late 90s, early 2000s diva receiver. When you think diva receiver of that era, Keyshawn is mentioned every time. And he clearly took it personal if he was in Julio's position. So you have to worry about that. That was, even though I'm with you. I don't think Vrabel's comments were personal.
No, it was you made a mistake. You put the team in a bad position. And that should be motivation.
But
and that's exactly what I thought about John Hines and Matt Duchesne. You're going to bench Matt Duchesne, and that better light a fire under his butt so he plays like the player he's paid to be.
And how much of that do you think is true, and how much do you think of that is Matt Duchesne thinking, screw this guy, he's holding me back?
I think a lot of it is the way that I would approach it, but I don't think that's the way that Matt Duchesne or Julio Jones would approach it.
Okay. Well,
we had a texter in the text line yesterday say that Julio Jones is Matt Duchesne.
I actually think it's a lot closer to that than people want to give it credit for, because you've committed yourself to Julio where you can't really get out from it. And the Predators have done the same thing with Duchesne. And it's already gotten one coach fired. And it's probably ultimately going to get the general manager fired. And if the Julio stuff doesn't work out here, it's probably going to get the general manager and the coach fired. But
I'm not willing to go there yet.
I just look at it and say, do we have to be worried that Vrabel's comments will be a negative factor with Julio? Not what do you think of the comments as far as how you would take them, but do you think that Julio is going to take this personal?
Yes.
Ian, do you think Julio is going to take this personal?
Well, I think it's possible, but I also think there's some players in that locker room that can kind of translate to him like, hey, this is kind of how it is around here, and you either deal with it or they'll make a move.
Who in that locker room can go up to him and say that? He would listen to?
My only guess would be Henry.
I think Henry's the only one.
And A.J. Brown.
No, I don't think Tannehill or Brown can. I mean, Tannehill, they tell us that behind the scenes Tannehill's a pretty good leader and pretty vocal and holds guys accountable, which is good. But most of the country thinks Tannehill sucks.
Yeah.
And that's not, what Julio Jones is going to the Hall of Fame. So, Ryan Tannehill's going to come up to me and tell me what to do.
But also, that's your quarterback.
Like the Ryan Tannehill from Miami. Yeah, I can always go get another quarterback.
But I think if he still keeps costing him games like that and drives, it'll just eventually morph on its own with the players.
I just think that, to that point, who does he really have respect for when you have accomplished what he's accomplished? To me, the only guy that I think could get through to him is Derrick Henry. I think that's the one guy who, he would look at us on the same level as him, and it'd be like, all right, man, and Derrick went to Alabama, and I went to Alabama.
National superstar. We both have that Saban connection.
If Derrick is coming up to me saying that, then that's something. And we saw Derrick on the sideline get after some people, which was good. I don't know what Derrick's like behind the scenes. Derrick doesn't want us to know what Derrick's like behind the scenes. But I said this yesterday. I think Derrick has to be the alpha dog this year. And this is an example of where Derrick probably has to be that guy. The one advantage that I think Keyshawn and Stephen A. are glossing over when discussing whether or not Vrabel's comments were, I don't know if controversial is the right word or if, whatever. Vrabel's played the game. Vrabel played the game, and Julio probably remembers Vrabel playing the game, and Vrabel's got the rings, and that is something that a lot of other coaches don't have, is that they were recently a player, a high-level famous player, and Vrabel was. So I'm not saying he's Magic Johnson, but he was at least a guy that people can look at and say, hey, Mike Vrabel has been there and done that. He was one of the toughest players in the league on all those Patriot teams. And maybe that can resonate with Julio.
But I feel like if it gets to a certain point where Julio is just so over Mike Vrabel's comments or the way that he's being treated by Mike Vrabel, I don't know if they're there yet, and I don't think that they are. But if it does get to that point, I don't think there's any amount of accolades that's going to change Julio Jones' mind. But I do wonder if it ever gets to a point where Vrabel calls up Saban and says, look, I've exhausted my efforts. I need you to talk to him.
But that's your job.
Yes, but
Nick has a job.
But if
Nick's doing his job.
But if you made comments that I feel like are fine to make, and Julio gets upset about them, and you can't get through to him anymore because he feels like you betrayed him, you're not going to be able. Whatever you say isn't going to resonate with Julio.
All right, let's take a call. 615-737-1025. Calls and text 615-737-1025. Do you think this is the question I have, because this goes back to, again, Stephen A. and Keyshawn today making a big deal about this. I didn't even think it was controversial yesterday when Vrabel said it. I agreed with him. I'm like, okay. And now when you start to have, is the coach making this statement at the wide receiver? How's the wide receiver? Oh, we'd be scrapping if I was playing. Ooh. Sounds kind of like a controversy. What do you think? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, Stephen A. Smith has a reaction in all of this that I do worry about. But I think he may be off. And I hope Julio understands. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. FanDuel Sportsbook. That's my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The biggest game this Sunday is the Chiefs and the Ravens, and FanDuel Sportsbook is going to make it even bigger because FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. And that means you can win the weekend correctly with a $150 bet on a $5 bet. This one seems even simpler than probably FanDuel thought it was when they offered it to you. We all saw the Ravens last night. Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City. If you use some other app, use the FanDuel Sportsbook app and get the $150 on a $5 bet. FanDuel is betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. And when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 24 hours. Just sign up with the promo code JGM on Sunday before the Chiefs and Ravens, and you could win $150 on a $5 bet. Promo code JGM. Exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in a designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
Limping off the field. I can confirm he was limping off the field.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Wouldn't say it deserves a gold star.
We want people to play along.
This is what's crazy.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I want to go last. Can I go last? Sure.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Compassion International is in Haiti right now, ready to help those devastated by the earthquake. Make your $40 gift by texting the keyword radio to 97646.
Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel is one of Nashville's favorite places to dine, serving up their award-winning menu items again. Kitchen Notes is renowned for their Southern-inspired dishes with a contemporary twist. Their breakfast features the popular Music City omelets, sourdough pancakes, cast iron waffles, plus everyone knows that their Sunday brunches are the talk of the town. Lunch menu items include smoked prime rib, chicken hash, and the Kitchen Notes legendary shrimp and grits. Kitchen Notes is open Thursday through Sunday at 7 a.m. till 2 p.m.
Cheers to you, girl. I know you're excited about the new job.
Oh, thanks so much.
Hey, is that my engagement ring you're wearing?
Don't be silly. Oh, wow. They are identical. How did that happen?
Don't tell me. He went to jail.
Yeah, yours too, I guess.
Wow.
Don't make her settle for one of those cookie cutter rings from the big corporate chain jewelry stores. At Genesis Diamonds, you can get her a stunning one-of-a-kind designer ring, one that's as unique as she is. Genesis has over 4,000 handcrafted rings from world-class designers like Tacori, Viraggio, Henry Dawsey, and others. These are designers that you'll never see in one of those mega corporate stores, but we have them starting at under $1,000. So ladies, don't settle for the ordinary, for a ring that will be yours and yours alone. Make sure he goes to
Genesis Diamonds.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
At CDW, we get that a cyborg assistant won't make your employees more productive from home.
Please, call me Brian. I can vacuum your dog.
That's great. But at CDW, we can design a productivity solution with Lenovo devices that offer fast, reliable connectivity to help your people manage their workloads the right way.
Can I have a human hug?
No. For technology that moves you forward, trust Lenovo and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
I didn't have a problem with Vrabel saying what he said because I'm thinking about Julio Jones, and even coming into the season, when he only played 9 games last year, had about 771 receiving yards. The previous 6 years, he had a minimum of 1,394 receiving yards per season and was universally recognized one of the top 2 receivers in football.
Yes.
The previous 6 years. That's how big time Julio Jones is. Here's the downside. What you heard coming out of Atlanta, a guy that didn't practice much, a guy that didn't seem to be on the same page with the coaching staff, that frustrated the coaching staff because of his commitment to the work off the field. I'm talking about work.
I can understand that. No, I get it.
I don't know. I don't cover the Atlanta Falcons.
No, I get it.
You heard those things.
Understood.
That was Stephen A. Smith today saying he doesn't have a problem with Vrabel's comments. But they are saying that Vrabel's comments don't do dumb blank
stuff
to hurt the team. Well, I saw this morning on the morning show on their stream, it said at the bottom, Vrabel said, don't do dumb stuff. He didn't say that. I mean, you got to say what the man said.
Don't do dumb.
You got to put the S and then star T.
Okay.
But you can't. Vrabel didn't say don't do dumb stuff to hurt the team, and I think the fact that Vrabel, used the word he used.
Well, if we want to G-rate things.
Well, yeah, but that's you're taking what he said. You're saying what he said is not what he said. What he said is what he said. But that's neither here nor there. Well, I'm just saying, quote the guy correctly. But Stephen A. says I don't have a problem with Vrabel's comments because of what he had heard coming out of Atlanta. So the same things we talked about on the show for the last 2 weeks of what we heard coming out of Atlanta. Charles Robinson, and we'll get to that later, but Charles Robinson, national writer for Yahoo Sports, was on Robbie and Rexroad today, and he heard the same. He heard certain things coming out of Atlanta about how those coaches felt about Julio Jones. And I'm just going to say this. You can't be like that and play on this team. There are some teams where you can be like that and you can get away with it and be fine. The Dallas Cowboys, you want to complain about the coach, Des Bryant, all you want, fine. It'll work for you. But you can't do that here. Not the way that they've built things to be. And when you bring in a guy who is like that, and I'm not saying Julio is like that here, but when you bring in a guy who is like that and he does that kind of stuff, it can really hurt the culture you've spent 5 years trying to build. Stephen A. also had a take on Vrabel's comments regarding Julio Jones and those comments about don't do dumb blank to hurt the team. And you're always told, it's one thing when it's business. It's another thing when it's personal. Here's what Stephen A. said.
I've seen Vrabel as a football coach. He ain't never done that to no player before.
Yeah.
So why would you do it to a new dude who's Julio Jones, who you acquired in the offseason? There's got to be something there that has ticked you off about him on a personal level, because that was a personal shot.
Do you think that was a personal shot?
No.
Here's why I don't think it's a personal shot. Last December, Rashaan Evans got a penalty against the Cleveland Browns that really hurt the Titans. And Vrabel was asked about that penalty the next day. And Ian, if you've got that, here's what Mike Vrabel said.
Mike, at any point yesterday or when you watched it back, did you feel like your team lost their composure at all as things went south some in the first half? And if so, is there a lesson or a message you give to your guys out of that as you move forward?
The message is, Steve, don't do dumb that hurt the team. And I don't need
to hear anything else after that. So he's already said it. Here's the one thing, as we talk about, the controversy and how Julio will take it and what Vrabel meant and all that stuff. My guess is Vrabel probably says that every single day. That in some meeting, he's looking at it and say, hey, don't do that. Don't do dumb to hurt the team. And I would not be surprised if Julio's probably heard that 15 times in the last month.
Yeah.
So when he hears that, it's like, okay, I've already heard this 15 times. This is just the 16th time.
And it's something that I think that he would say regardless of who you are. I don't care if you are Julio Jones. I don't care if you're Nick Westbrook-Akina. I don't care if you're Ryan Tannehill. If you do dumb blank to hurt the team, you did dumb blank to hurt the team. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you make. And I'm not going to stroke anyone's ego if they don't deserve it.
But does he have the choice with Julio?
See, that's the problem, is that I think we're going to see how Julio responds, and I think we're going to learn the answer to that question.
Well, it's like we go back to, I think, Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene are a good example of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like John Hines benches him. John Hines takes him off the power play. John Hines moves him down the lineup. And quite frankly, they don't like John Hines. And John Hines probably doesn't like them. But guess what? Nobody else in the league wants these guys. So if John Hines doesn't get those guys to play well, guess who's getting fired? It ain't Duchene. So I've always looked at it that way. And in this case, this is why, as we talked about the Julio thing when they made the trade, and I said, I don't want him at this price, and I don't want him for what you're investing in on him because you can't get out of it. Let's go to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Charles has been waiting patiently, and it's going to kick us off on Julio. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Charles.
Taking my call again. What I want to say about Julio, I wouldn't think he got a problem with it. I would hope he's man enough to take the criticism and know when he did wrong. And Vrabel, Vrabel's a vocal coach. He's going to say what he got to say when he got to say it. But Julio, that's all I had to say about that. That's about it.
Thank you, Charles. I think sometimes people expect somebody to act the way they want them to expect or act and not the way that they actually will act, if that makes any sense. Like it's kind of like what our affirmation media has turned into.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you turn on like Fox News at 8 o'clock at night, Sean Hannity's going to be screaming about Joe Biden. But that's probably because that's what you want.
And that's what you expect.
Right. Like, so if you turn it on and Sean Hannity's like, we are following this breaking. Oh, hold on. Let me grab my pen, put it in my hand. We are following this breaking, developing story. Joe Biden today did a great job as president. Take a look. Like, if that were to happen, I think the people watching that would be stunned.
Oh, 100%.
Like, so this caller is like, Julio will take it like a man, and Julio will. And I think that's how you want Julio to act. I don't think that that's like necessarily how Julio has reacted in the past. I hope Julio acts that way too.
And I think the way that I want Julio to react is a reflection of how I would react, how I feel like athletes like the mentality that they should have.
Sure.
But to your point, when we were talking about back in April, whenever it was, about John Hines benching Matt Duchene, that it was a little bit of a naive take from me. That, like, it'd be great.
Oh, yeah, he'll go out there and he'll be more fired up than ever. And Duchene actually played okay.
And he did. He came back and had a great game. He did.
But he only hates the coach more now.
Yes.
And you can't – he benched all of them once. Like, right when he took the job. He benched, I think, Johansson, Duchene, and Arvidsson. I want to say, Ian, this was like a game in Vancouver or something.
That's hard for me to specifically pull out that exact game. I'll take your word for it.
It was a long time ago. I remember it was a Thursday night because there was a show at Bridgestone Arena that night, and I went there, and I was like walking out of the section to look at the TV to see what was going on in the game. And I remember like that whole night, and I remember getting home. It was late. It was Vancouver,
right?
And he had benched him. And the next day we were talking about, what do we think of Hines benching him and whatever? And I think a lot of the callers and a lot of the people were like, oh, yeah, this is going to light a fire under them. This is going to. And Floyd was not having that. He was like, I mean, where I come from, you don't do that kind of thing. You do a. And I think about like if you went to an Eddie George and you benched an Eddie George, like, how would Eddie feel about that? Like, if you told Derek, you had 60 yards last week, benched. Mekhi Sargent, get in there. How's Derek going to feel? Derek's probably not going to be very happy because what you just did was stupid. And so the reason I bring this up is we can all look at the idea of benching Derrick Henry and saying, okay, that's stupid. But the problem is that these guys have the pride of the Derrick Henry, even if there's a reason for you to bench them. They have the pride of a Derrick Henry, and they're like, well, that's stupid. And that's where you have to be careful with this. Now, they're not benching Julio, but I just use that kind of as an example of some things we've seen in the past and how maybe it doesn't completely work out as you want it to work out. And that guys may be a little bit more sensitive than you think. 615-737-1025. We'll get to more of your Julio reactions. Plus, Jordan DeArmond, who was my first producer when I got here at 1025 The Game and is now at 680 The Fan in Atlanta, has sent me a message about Julio. So she wants to get her thoughts in on this too, and I'm not going to hold back. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I absolutely love my friends at Hiller. They take great care of my home, and I promise you that they can do the same for you. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller, because Hiller is offering you credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit and earn up to $15,000 credits towards a select new system. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credit for your old one, and much more. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or the Service is Free guarantee, and the Hiller technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call they make. And I can attest to this because I had Hiller out a couple of weeks ago, and I had one issue they needed Hiller to take care of. They did. Then there was another issue that came up after the people who needed Hiller to take care of the first issue had it, and the Hiller came back out, took care of everything. I love them. I'm serious when I say that. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud sponsors of the Nashville Predators, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Titans, Seahawks. The Two-Tone Blues seeks a Week 2 victory in hostile territory. Tune in Sunday at 1 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Cool Springs. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills? Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
No one outfits golfers better than Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been fitting golfers since 1968. Utilizing cutting-edge fitting technology, we'll analyze your swing and our Foresight launch monitors and fit you with the perfect club, pair of shoes, the latest golf apparel, golf balls, bags, and more. So come by today for your complete custom fitting. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment made between now through October 31st, 2021, subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Rock Bottom Nashville is Broadway's original brewery, where all brews are brewed on site. Josh Rappaport is Rock Bottom's brewmaster, creating fresh craft beers where peak flavors are always the rule. Grab one of their blockbuster beers to pair with their nachos, pretzel bites, and delicious flatbreads. They even have group catering. They boast one of the best views of downtown Nashville and is a short walk to Titan Stadium. And enjoy happy hour Monday through Friday afternoons from 2 until 6. Rock Bottom Nashville, 111 Broadway.
This Saturday,
Touchdown OU! Score for Nebraska!
old rivals renew acquaintances in Norman when the Oklahoma Sooners host the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Pre-game at 10:30, kickoff at 11.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I don't know what exactly led him to those comments. Right. Because when I look at why he got the penalty, he was playing football to the end of the whistle. He was being aggressive at the point of attack. Mm-hmm. He was taking a dude down as his running back was running the football. Right. You are taught as a receiver to not look behind you when you block it. Stay aggressive. So when I look at stuff like that, being a guy who's been in the locker room, played the position, understand coaches, I think there's something underlying there outside of him getting a 15-yard penalty that made Vrabel go off like that. Something. I don't know if he hadn't been practicing right. I don't know if he was complaining about getting the football, if he was being locked down when he running his route. It's something other than he got a 15-yard penalty. I can promise you that.
That was Keyshawn Johnson today on First Take. And I don't know, like, how much of this is just First Take trying to make a story out of nothing?
I think a lot of it is that, but I think getting Keyshawn Johnson's perspective is interesting, seeing as though, like you mentioned, he is a former diva wide receiver, a wide receiver, if you want to call him that. So it's interesting to get his perspective on things.
I would agree. Like, the way that Chris Sanders approached the NFL and the way that Keyshawn Johnson approached the NFL,
very different.
Very, very different. They were both, I believe, in the same draft, but very, very different.
Because I can hear Chris Sanders saying now Julio's got to take those comments and he's got to compartmentalize them and make it a positive thing. Got to go out there and be better. Stop doing stupid stuff that hurts the team.
Remember, Chris Sanders didn't want him to trade for Julio.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jordan DeArmond, who was my first producer here at 102.5. She's with 680 The Fan in Atlanta now. She's from Atlanta. Ian, we love Jordan DeArmond, right?
Love her.
Love her. Jordan DeArmond says to me on Twitter, Julio absolutely, in all caps, absolutely, will take offense. Apparently, he was being more of a diva than we thought in Atlanta leading up to his departure. Now, that lines up with what I was saying, that I talked to people in Atlanta that were telling me, hey, Julio was running off the field on plays designed for him. Julio didn't want it that way. Jordan even tells me, Brian Fennerin, who is a longtime wide receiver in Atlanta. When Vrabel was on the Patriots, Fennerin was in Atlanta. A longtime wide receiver. He's on that same station, 680 The Fan. So he's a longtime Falcon. Mm-hmm. said, Brian Finneran said, within the organization there was babying going on in what he did and didn't do leading up to the games over the last few years. Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports national writer who goes on Robbie and Rex Road every week, said today that, hey, what he had heard in Atlanta about Julio with the coaches leaving was they weren't huge fans.
In terms of the Atlanta stuff, I don't know. I take that with a grain of salt. I'll say this: when the coaching staff and front office broke up, I did hear some grousing from people who went out the door about like, hey, we never should have signed him to the deal that we did, the extension we did. We were pressured by Arthur Blank to do that, and it put us in a position where it made it difficult to coach Julio really hard at that point, and just really, because it was clear the owner loved this guy, and when an owner says pay him and pay him big, it's in a situation where you have to hope that he self-motivates, does all the right things, and you're not railing on him to try and make sure that he's perfect all the time. Again, I don't know that he wasn't. I think there's a lot of, Monday morning quarterbacking that happens.
Well, what I heard in Atlanta was that Julio was completely selfish and off the wall. And can I ask one question?
Sure.
Can we hear and see a good thing from Julio?
I think seeing a good thing from Julio would be great. I don't need to hear anything good about him. I don't need to hear it as long as you do it. As long as I
7
see it on
for
the
112
field,
and a touch would be nice on Sunday.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Let's go to your phone. 615-737-1025. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
One texter texts in and says, I wonder how AJ is feeling about Julio. Anyone catch AJ trying to calm Julio down in the huddle right after Julio's penalty? Julio should be coaching AJ, not the other way around.
So what I wonder about the Julio and AJ relationship. Remember when AJ was all about bringing in Julio and everybody said, AJ looks up to Julio and AJ. I worry if Julio's attitude's not in the right place that you're going to see some Jerry Stackhouse, Michael Jordan here, where Jerry Stackhouse was on the Wizards when Michael Jordan showed up, and Jordan was in his 40s and was done. And Jerry Stackhouse basically said, I grew up worshiping Michael Jordan. I went to North Carolina because I wanted to be Michael Jordan. I went to the NBA, and then I played with Michael Jordan, and I hate Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and one of the things was because Jordan was older then, they were running the offense through Jordan, and Stackhouse was thinking, they need to run it through me, not Jordan. And I wonder if you're going to see some of that with AJ and Julio, where I just adored this guy, and then all of a sudden I got to work with him, and I didn't really like him that much.
Kind of like a never meet your heroes kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do worry about that a little bit. What's next?
Ben texts in and says, Mike Vrabel has done this multiple times when asked specifically about a player making a mistake. It's a mistake. This is nothing special just because it is Julio. I don't think the comments from Mike Vrabel are anything special because it's Julio. I think the response from Julio makes this more of a story.
I would argue that I actually agree with the texter only because Vrabel, if he said it to us now multiple times, how many times has he said it to them?
Oh, so many times.
So
I kind of feel like it may be like in the locker room written somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like let that be burned in the back of your mind. Don't do stupid things.
And so that's the disrespect card. He went to the press and said that about me, and now people are talking about me like that. That I think is a valid point.
Another texter texts in and says, why are you, I'll just say hating on Julio? He doesn't play defense or offensive line. His one penalty did not lose that game.
Because everybody said, if they get Julio Jones, they're going to go Super Bowl. It's going to be us. Oh, my God. And now it's like, Julio's not that more. He's a wide receiver. I was the one who said, don't do it. And I'm not saying, look, Julio may go lead the league in catching this year, and everyone may say, we think now Stillman, which you all love to do. But I said don't do it. And the reason I said don't do it is because I knew, given the salary cap the way it was, that you had one chip to play. It was the Tannehill contract. It was the one chip you had to play. And when I see creating $20 million, or I think the way that I would have done it, would have created, I think, $16 million, or I can't remember. That's longer. But when I see creating that kind of money, which is what the Titans did by extending Ryan Tannehill's contract, When I see that kind of money out there, I'm like, that's got to be 3 starters. Like in the NFL, $16 million in 1 year of cap money has to be 3 starters. And you didn't have a tight end, and you don't have a right tackle, and you could always use help on defense. And that's why, remember when we were talking about, okay, Jared, if you wouldn't use the money on Julio, who would you do it for? And remember who I said?
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones.
Well, I wasn't for the Julio trade either.
No, we were the ones that were against it. We were the one show that was like, no. Just like this was the one show, Floyd and I with Clowney, no. We wouldn't do that. There's no way. And I'm not saying that we're hating on Julio or whatever. I'm not going that route with it. I just feel personally like all the things that I've been worried about are starting to kind of pop up a little bit. And I can't have the fans just be shocked about it. It's you got to learn from this going forward. You can't just listen to everybody. Julio's going to come in here and he's going to there's 2 sides to every story. Remember, nobody else in the league would have spent this money on him. Mm-hmm. Nobody else was willing to trade for him here. He's in his 30s. And so now there's all these kind of question marks. 615-737-1025. We'll get back into your phones. We'll check on the headlines with Caroline. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. Let me tell all the fine folks out there that the streaming on Stillman and Company on Twitter and YouTube every day. Video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Be sure to join us as we partner with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night. Light the Night brings the light to the darkness of cancer through hope, research, and support for patients and families. Through this inspirational nationwide movement, we raise awareness for funding and for groundbreaking research and treatment options to eliminate cancer. Nashville's Light the Night will take place on November 5th at Nissan Stadium. Register and learn more at lightthenight.org/TN.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus. A few isolated showers and weak thunderstorms this afternoon into this evening with no severe weather. Hot and a little bit humid once again. High temperatures in the upper 80s near 90 degrees. A little bit cooler, lower 80s going into tomorrow.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Compassion International is in Haiti right now, ready to help those devastated by the earthquake. Make your $40 gift by texting the keyword radio to 97646.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases of new equipment made now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
This game's gonna be good.
Definitely.
Loser buys?
Sure.
Hey, 2 Dos Equis on this guy.
The game hasn't even started.
And yet, somehow it's already over.
Okay.
A dose of certainty. Brought to you by Dos Equis, proud sponsor of college football. Get a dose. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2021. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Creating the finest award-winning tequila means starting with the best ingredients. Camarena Tequila is 250 years in the making from Arandas, Jalisco, Mexico. You see, at Camarena, they wait for their 100% blue Weber agave to reach maturity before harvesting each and every plant by hand. This allows them to consistently produce one of the smoothest and best-tasting tequilas in the world. Experience Camarena Tequila today, available at a fine liquor store near you. Camarena Tequila is the official tequila for the Nashville Soccer Club.
Darren McFarland.
He's cool. He's got a personality, and they make fun of him.
Willie Donick.
Would this be a fun guy to come to work and hang around with all day?
Chase McCabe.
They're just like, hey, we need you to play yourself.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
This Friday, it's your chance to participate in the Nashville SC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores a goal in the game this Saturday, you will win a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. Participate this Friday morning at 9:45 a.m. Let's go to your phones. Gorilla has been waiting patiently on Julio Jones. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jared, I'm just wondering, man, why do you guys go in so hard on my man, Julio? Now, what are you going to look like if the Julio project is successful?
Everybody's going to call this show.
Y'all have sat back and said that he's not going to work. It's not going. I mean, I turned to your station from the other station just to try to get something, and this is like the third, fourth day. And, I mean, it just shows a lack of football IQ that you just go into this based on
Hey,
one
I was
game.
I was the only person that didn't think Julio Jones was going to come in here and transcend the offense into the greatest show on turf. And he wasn't as effective as Chester Rogers on Sunday.
Watch this here, though, my man. Your line couldn't block for anything. You didn't see that? I mean,
I did see that. That's why I said get a right tackle. Thank you for your call, Gorilla.
The defense couldn't stop anybody.
Right. But the Julio is the star. Julio is the one that everybody said. See, this thing, everybody wanted to hear Julio to the Titans. What does it mean? Let's go to Ryan Clark. And, it's just so great. They're going to, it's just. And I'm sitting here saying, I wouldn't do it. All I said was I wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm hopeful that I'm wrong, and I'm hopeful that Julio is like God's gift, and the Titans score a touchdown on every drive. But Sunday was not an indication of that. And now we've already got ESPN and Stephen H. Smith sitting there talking about a controversy with Julio Jones 1 week into the season because Mike Vrabel had the audacity to say that getting a 15-yard penalty on a 3rd and 1 was a bad idea. That's all I got to say. Time now for Headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company, right here on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Headlines with Caroline, presented by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the Braves.
Guess who's back?
Who's back?
Not Texas. Josh Gordon.
Oh, yes.
The NFL Players Association has determined that he has successfully completed his NFL monitored treatment program after he's been suspended from the NFL 6 times for breaking the NFL substance abuse policy. So it is not official yet, so it'll go to the final approval from the NFL, from Roger Goodell, but he said that he is fully ready to play. He is in shape to play. He is fully vaccinated and is ready to get back into the league after being suspended 6 times.
Josh Gordon is the only guy who, at the beginning of his weed adventures, weed was bad. Josh Gordon smokes all that weed? Bad. Since then, like 4 or 8 states or however many states have totally legalized it. You got people all over the country, both sides of the aisle politically saying, let's go ahead and make it legal. And quite frankly, you want to smoke pot, knock yourself out. Now, the one thing I will say about Josh Gordon is the lack of control.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a concern.
Because while I don't think it's a terrible offense, if you want to smoke weed, I don't care. But if you play in the NFL, that's a rule.
Right. If they're
if you don't like the rule, then don't play in the NFL.
If somebody's like, hey, Jared, in order for you to make hundreds of millions of dollars, you can live a normal life like everybody else, but you can't eat turkey sandwiches. Well, then I love turkey sandwiches. Well, guess what? I got to go eat something else.
Yeah.
Get
ham now.
And, I'm Jewish. I don't eat ham.
Well, then get whatever you get. Tuna salad.
There you go.
Sure. Why not?
What's next?
Raheem Mostert has announced today that he will be out for the season with a knee injury that he sustained against Detroit. So the 49ers are now signing, coincidentally enough, the Lions' former running back Kerryon Johnson to their practice squad. So it's been a little scary recently with a number of running backs that have gone down with knee injuries, mostly in Baltimore and also now with Raheem Mostert. But expect to see Kerryon Johnson in a San Francisco uniform this season.
Boy, San Francisco has just had the hardest time with injuries over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. That's all I got on Mostert.
All right. Well, that's fair. That is fair. Also, there have been 8 New Orleans Saints that have tested positive for COVID that we have found out today. It is 6 coaches, 1 player, 1 nutritionist. So they're going to follow all of the NFL guidelines surrounding COVID, and there's different things, whether they're vaccinated or not. All 6 coaches, you have to assume, are vaccinated because I don't believe that you can
You can't work in the NFL if you're
NFL if you're unvaccinated. So they're all vaccinated. I'm sure as a nutritionist you have to be. I'm not sure which player it is or their vaccination status, but a little bit of a sticky situation for New Orleans this week, just depending on symptoms, asymptomatic, not, having symptoms. I don't know exactly what the details are on the people who have tested positive. I don't think they have released that information, but something to monitor moving forward. And your favorite thing, fantasy football, if you have a New Orleans Saint in your lineup, you may want to rethink.
So I would just say that, the next couple of days will tell us the story on the Saints as far as who's got it, who doesn't, what they'll be able to do on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Saints have one of the highest vaccination rates in the NFL.
I think Sean Payton said they were up to 95 to 98%.
So that's a good sign. And, you hate to say it, rather be the coaches than the players, but you're not going to disrupt any games if it's the coaches. Mm-hmm. So that's probably for the best.
Also, I'm waiting for my computer to load so I can tell you what's next.
It's always a computer
because
fault.
because it's a very important thing that I do want to tell you, and I'm going
It's
to
very
tell
important.
that it's so important.
You told me that it was very, very
You
important.
are going to be so floored. I've been talking to you about this all morning, and I knew that you were going to be incredibly floored whenever you heard the story.
It must have something to do with Michael Jordan.
Yes, it doesn't, but it is very important because Rashad Penny could be out for the game against the Titans this Sunday. Seahawks running back Rashad Penny. It could potentially be out for the game against the Titans with a calf injury. So he's number 2 running back behind Chris Carson. He left Sunday's season opener with a calf issue, and then on Monday, the team did confirm that it was a calf strain. So Alex Collins, DJ Dallas, and Travis Homer are next on the depth chart for the Seahawks. So I don't really know when any of those guys are, but we shall see if Rashad Penny is out there for the Titans on Sunday.
Headlines with Caroline, presented by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave. Coming up next, we have not taken a Titans NFL breather over the week. So we're going to do that. We'll take a little bit of a breather. Trevor Matter's going to join us at 4:30. The Vols on Saturday. I don't know if I should feel good about the Vols game on Saturday or if I should be depressed about the Vols game on Saturday. I don't know how to feel. So we'll do that coming up next. But first, as long as her computer allows it to do so, Caroline is going to tell us about BetUS.
That pesky computer does things, but it would never get in the way of me talking about BetUS. It is my favorite sports book. Football is back. Finally, we can look ahead to week 2 in the NFL, week 3 in college, so it's time to get in on the action. So BetUS has been America's favorite sportsbook for over 25 years, and that's exactly why I endorse BetUS, because they've been around the block. You know that you're going to get paid with BetUS because they have integrity, they have longevity. BetUS offers everything. They have live betting, MMA, golf, esports, basketball, baseball, football, all kinds of crazy bets. They have it on BetUS. So call them today, and they will walk you through setting up an account. It is super simple. Just call 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and you can set up an account. Nobody in the industry gives bigger bonuses than BetUS. You can get up to 200% in bonuses. So if you join now and you mention GAME, GAME, you can get a sign-up bonus. Nobody beats that. BetUS is the best. I bet at BetUS. So should you. So go now to BetUS.com. Join today. Put in promo code GAME, GAME, for a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. That is BetUS.com.
From all-day talk,
The good shooters, you notice, because their shot looks different. The puck just seems to be on the goalie quicker.
to the biggest games,
Open man is Devontae Smith, touchdown.
Nashville's best sports talk is always at your fingertips. Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Buying a home is expensive these days, and finding the right real estate agent is a crapshoot. But with Loan Pronto's all-new Home Connect, you can simplify the process and save thousands. Hey, I'm Roger Moore, founder and CEO of Loan Pronto. Our Home Connect starts with getting you approved for a low-rate mortgage with zero closing costs, saving you thousands. Next, we'll connect you with one of our trusted local agents who will not only help you find your dream home, but will also share their commission with you. So on a $400,000 home, you can get as much as $8,000 back in real money. That's extra cash for furniture or a bigger down payment. It's Home Connect from Loan Pronto, an innovative turnkey solution for today's market that helps our clients win more deals, more times, and save them more money. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. 499-5780.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. No closing cost option not available on all loans, subject to lender approval. Want a world-class designer engagement ring but think you'll pay more for it? Not at Genesis Diamonds.
People ask all the time, am I spending more money just to get the designer name? And I can tell you unequivocally, no.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President Wendy Canavan.
What you're getting is better made jewelry, a better made engagement ring.
So at Genesis, you don't have to make or settle for a knockoff mass-produced ring. You can get a handcrafted masterpiece from designers like Tacori, Verragio, Henry Dossi, Kirk Cara, the names on every woman's wish list.
They're just better made. The people who design these rings are truly artists. They're not some backroom jeweler knocking off a ring.
And don't be fooled by people who say you will overpay.
We have beautiful engagement rings starting at $795, designer made.
Genesis Diamonds. It's easy to find the ring of her dreams without having to compromise.
You don't want people to say, oh, your ring's okay. You want people to say, wow.
Genesis Diamonds, voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring year after year. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game. What a surprisingly fun weekend of college football.
Was it surprising to you because you don't necessarily like it all the time?
No, it was surprising to me because nobody expected Texas A&M and Colorado to be a close game.
That is true.
Because nobody expected Ohio State to lose to Oregon at home.
Nobody expected Jacksonville State to beat Florida State.
No, Florida State sucks, though. I mean, I'm so tired of them. They've been so worthless for the last 5 years. I mean,
but did you think Jacksonville State would beat them?
Yes.
No, you did not.
Check the tape.
I smell something burning because I think your pants are on fire. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Oh, okay, there you go. Good one. All right.
Thank you.
So the Vols play on Saturday early, and I thought there were two games on Saturday that I really cared about. The Vols and Ohio State. They both happen to be at the same time, 11 a.m. And so the Vols play.
You didn't care about the LSU McNeese State game?
Was not able to make it. I was busy that day.
Oh, darn.
But I actually was up and watched the end of the Vanderbilt game. They won, which is, there's that.
Woohoo.
But I watched the Vols game and the Ohio State game at the same time. And I was incredibly pleased with Ohio State losing. I mean, I cannot say enough how excited I was to watch Ohio State lose on Saturday. But the other side of it was Tennessee-Pittsburgh. And I didn't really know how to feel about that game. Like early on, I saw Joe Milton overthrow some wide receivers that probably could have been touchdowns. And I thought, Pat Narduzzi was a little too cocky going on Robbie and Rex Road on Friday and saying, oh, yeah, Nick Saban can't learn our defense. It's too tough to figure out. Then Milton gets knocked out of the game, and then Pittsburgh comes all the way back, and they put Hendon Hooker in the game, and Hendon Hooker I thought was going to stink, and he actually was probably better than Joe Milton.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, I don't know how to feel. Like the Vols very easily could have won on Saturday against Pittsburgh. Just to play here, just to play there, just to whatever. Pittsburgh is not a horrible team. It's not a horrible program. They're not in a horrible conference, though. The ACC this year does not look very. But the Vols put up a fight. And Josh Heupel football, it's not going to be boring this year. And so I almost ask the callers and the texters this question. How do you feel about the Vols on Saturday? Like, how do you feel about them now that you've seen them? The Bowling Green game I thought was terribly boring, and I thought the team kind of stunk. And at times on Saturday, I thought the Vols kind of stunk. I think defensively they have so much work to do, and they don't have a defensive coach. And I think now after watching the Pittsburgh game, I can walk out of there. I don't think I have to watch another Vols game the rest of the season. They're not going to beat Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky.
Nope.
They're probably going to beat Missouri, South Carolina, Vandy.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever that last cupcaker is. And
ETSU?
So they're going to be a 6-win
Tennessee
team.
Tech.
They're going to be a 6-6 team. Because they're going to beat South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and ETSU.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to lose. And so that would
They'll
give
be
them
5-7.
5 wins. So they'll be 5-7. Okay. Guess what Jeremy Pruitt was his first year? 5-7. Guess what Butch Jones was his first year? 5-7. And you all loved them after their first years. So, I walked out of that game saying, okay, this is what the Vols are. They're not very good. They play hard. They enjoy being there. And the coach is going to score a lot of points. But I still don't know if I should feel good or bad about it.
I think there were some things in the Pitt game that I didn't see against Bowling Green, and that was playing a complete game, playing 4 quarters. I mean...
Did they play 4 quarters, though?
It felt like it to me. I
felt like they checked out of that second quarter.
It felt like that was the most complete game that I had seen from Tennessee.
Well, of 2.
Yeah.
But I mean,
also,
didn't Pittsburgh score like 24 unanswered in the second quarter?
Yes.
That's not playing 4 quarters.
But it's not that they just ran away with the game in the second half.
Did you ever feel like Tennessee was going to win that game after the second quarter?
No.
See, I didn't either.
No.
And
I knew that they were going to come back and make it closer. And there were some times that I thought, no. Like, I considered it for a second and didn't think that it would actually come back. But if Tennessee played like that against Bowling Green, I think it would have been way more of a blowout.
Okay. I can go with that.
Okay.
But
I think that's what I mean by it was way more of a complete game.
Even a blowout against Bowling Green probably wouldn't make you feel that much better or not better. I would say the thing that gets me about this game was that, first of all, Tennessee is incredibly undisciplined right now.
Yes.
I mean, that is a humongous thing they've got to fix.
Dumb penalties.
And I'm not going to lie that I watched like the third quarter at a Walgreens on my phone. But the people at Walgreens, I got to say something. The people at the Walgreens in this town are the nicest people in the world.
I saw your tweet about it.
Yes. So the Walgreens in Green Hills by where I live on Friday night, they were very nice, very helpful.
Good.
They didn't have what I was looking for. So I went to the one, in Belmead on Harding Road.
Mm-hmm.
Nicest people in the world.
Good.
They were sitting there, and I was just watching the game on my phone, hanging out at Walgreens. But anywho, I digress. And I just want to thank all the very nice folks in the photo departments at both those 2 Walgreens because they were great. But, I felt like in the third quarter, and I want to say Pittsburgh scored, and they went up 2 scores, or they went up, and I just thought the game was over. And my attention at that point was completely focused in on Oregon, Ohio State, because I just thought, okay, well, this game's over.
Mm-hmm.
But then Tennessee made a run at it, The 4th and 1 call from the shotgun, I don't love. I thought Hooker made the wrong read. I thought he should have kept it and gone to the outside. I also think I hate running from the shotgun on 4th and 1, but that is what colleges do now. Every play in college is run from the shotgun. So just get used to it. But I thought if they made that, maybe they would have had a chance. I'm not sure they ever would have been able to beat that quarterback from Pittsburgh. I just think he was too tough, too good, too experienced, too whatever. But the Vols played hard, and they didn't quit. And Hooker looked okay, even though he threw that interception at the end. Like, he looked okay. But I just the discipline stuff, I don't know if Heupel is just not – like, I don't know if these guys are just undisciplined and Heupel's got to coach that out of them, or if Heupel's going to be one of those offensive coaches that you're going to have to live with the penalties. I don't know if Heupel's going to be one of those offensive coaches.
I don't think this team is talented enough to live with the penalties.
No, they can't. But do you think Heupel's just going to be able to coach them out of it right now?
Probably not.
So they're going to probably have to deal with it. But then there are good teams that do get penalized a lot, and they
can make up for it because they're good teams.
And maybe that's Heupel's style. The defense is a train wreck. But maybe that's Heupel's style, that he's going to try to beat everybody 47-46, and once he gets a quarterback and some offensive pieces, he can be able to do that. But I just think I walk out of that game, I'm sure Tennessee fans are upset they didn't win, but at the same time, I look at it like, hey, you didn't get embarrassed at home by Pittsburgh. You put up a fight. Your players are playing hard for this coach. This coach is putting up an offense that is worth watching, at least at times, and you're probably going to go 5-7. The end.
Do you think we could potentially see Hendon Hooker starting on Saturday?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know if that matters.
Why?
Well, because Milton, he stinks, but okay. Milton is like a starting pitcher in baseball who throws 99 and can't find the strike zone.
Yeah.
So he's gotten all these chances because every pitching coach thinks, if I can teach this guy how to pitch, then he'll get it over. Hooker doesn't really offer a lot, but somehow he was moving the ball down the field on Pittsburgh. So would I roll with Hooker this week? I don't know. Do you lose Milton if you make the move? Is Milton actually better than Hooker? Because 2 weeks ago you thought that Milton was better than Hooker. So what made you think that Milton was better than Hooker then if Milton's not better than Hooker now? Those are kind of all the questions that go through my mind when you ask a question like that. Because there is so much at stake when you change a quarterback. When you change a quarterback, it's like breaking up. If you break up, you may get back together, but you're never going to be able to
the damage
undo
is still
the
done.
breakup.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I try to always tell people when it comes to changing a quarterback is once you make that change, that's a monumental thing. And that doesn't mean Milton won't come back this season, but it'll never be the same. So I don't know. Would you make the change?
See, it's tough because do you not make the change in fear of that irreparable damage that could potentially be done between the team and Joe Milton, and you stick with Joe Milton and just hope that it works out and just kind of stay in mediocrity? Or do you make a risk, make a change? You tell Joe Milton, okay, hey, look, we got Tennessee Tech this Saturday. We're going to win this game, knock on wood. We're going to try out Hendon Hooker, see how he goes, see how things are, because we feel confident that we're going to win this game, and we need to save you for our bigger games in the future. I don't know. If you're going to make a change, I think it needs to be against a lower-level opponent like Tennessee Tech, because you got Florida on the other side.
Yeah, but they're not going to win that game no matter who starts a quarterback.
No, but that's a significantly more difficult opponent than Tennessee Tech or Bowling Green and Pitt even, and you can't win against Pitt.
Right, but if I were to make the change for the Florida game, it doesn't matter who starts that game. I'm going to lose.
Okay.
So you're like, well, you want to make the change, make it now, because you don't want to make it for the Florida game because why? Because they might win the Florida game?
Well, I don't know. Crazier things have happened.
Have they?
Yeah.
Like?
Tennessee beating Georgia a few years ago. Tennessee beating Florida a few years ago.
That Tennessee team won 9 games.
Jacksonville State beating Florida State. Oregon beating Ohio State.
I would argue.
Crazy things can happen.
Oregon is a top 10 team.
What are you talking about?
Did you go into that? 10 team. Yeah, I gave Oregon a much better chance on Saturday than I will give Tennessee when they play Florida.
But did you think that Oregon was going to beat Ohio State?
No, I did not think they were going to beat Ohio State.
Okay.
But there's a difference between that and between Tennessee.
I'm not comparing
Florida.
the two, but
you just compared them.
But No, I did not.
Yes,
I said crazy things happen.
You've said crazy things happen. I go like this. You go, well, did Oregon beat Ohio State?
Yes,
That
crazy
is
things
comparing
can
them.
happen.
That is comparing them.
ETSU can beat Vandy.
Right. And that's not as crazy as Tennessee beating Florida.
But crazy things can happen.
But can these kind of crazy things happen?
I'm not going to put money on it.
Okay, what do you think the difference between Tennessee and Florida is going into this?
What do you mean?
How many points? How many points do you what would you expect a final score between Florida and Tennessee would be in 2 weeks?
I think it'd be a 21 to 24 point win, Florida.
Okay, so you're thinking something along the lines of like what we saw with the Titans this week, 38-13.
Sure.
Okay. So that's what did you think the difference between Vandy and ETSU was going to be?
Probably about the same for Vanderbilt.
You thought Vanderbilt was going to be able to score 24 points?
Against ETSU?
Yes.
Yeah?
Who's their quarterback?
I don't know.
I tell you, how can you score 24 points? They don't have any players. He scored 24 points.
It was week 1. I didn't know what to expect from
Did you
Vanderbilt.
expect Ohio State to win by 24 points on Saturday?
Not that much, no.
I thought Ohio State was going to win comfortably, too. Now,
I thought it was
going to
be like a 10 to 14 point game.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot
much.
like the game they played the week before against Minnesota and whatever. But my point is that the idea of like, well, they better be ready for the Florida game is just a little like, like that. So they have no shot to compete in that game. Now, they'll lie and tell us that they do, but they have no shot. But that's my takeaway from this Pittsburgh game. They're not going to be able to compete with Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, because Kentucky can throw the ball.
Kentucky, yes.
Kentucky learned how to throw the ball, and that scares me. Like, if you're not Georgia, Kentucky learning to throw the football is concerning.
I also don't want to hear any Kentucky slander from Tennessee fans because I entertained the thought of Kentucky beating Tennessee this year.
You mean Tennessee beating Kentucky?
No.
You entertained the thought of Kentucky beating Tennessee?
Yes. And Tennessee fans were livid. We're going to beat Kentucky. Why? Why are you going to beat Kentucky? Kentucky is good this year. Kentucky is not the Kentucky of 3 or 4 years ago. Kentucky is good this year. So I don't want to hear any Vol fans getting upset about me saying that Kentucky will beat Tennessee.
But Kentucky's been good for a little bit now. Like, good for Kentucky.
Good for Kentucky, but Kentucky's actually good.
No, but like
from what we've seen this year.
Well, didn't they beat Penn State in like the Capital One Orange Bowl? Or not Orange Bowl, what's the one that's not as good as the Orange Bowl? But it's played like on New Year's Day.
Citrus
Bowl. Yeah.
Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
in Orlando.
They won the Citrus Bowl a couple of years ago. Like, Kentucky's been really good the last 5 years. But when I started working in radio, Joker Phillips had just gotten fired at Kentucky. It was Mark Stoops' first year. So this was like 7 or 8 years ago. They were 2-10. They lost to Western Kentucky. They were awful. That's what Kentucky normally is.
Yes.
When I was a kid, Vanderbilt, every year there was one team they had a chance to beat. It was Kentucky. Like, Kentucky's been pretty good for the last 5 years, for Kentucky, and they've knocked the crap out of Tennessee a couple of times. As Tennessee, I'd be careful what I say about Kentucky, because Kentucky was decent those years, and they couldn't throw. And this Kentucky team can throw. So, I mean, to me, I look at right now, if you're a Vols fan, you went into the year looking at Florida, Georgia, Alabama. And who's their other West opponent this year?
Ole Miss.
Okay, so they're going to lose that game too. So you would look at those teams and say, okay, they're over there. Then you look at Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky. Well, I think you can firmly take Kentucky out of that group where they've normally lived and put them in the other group for right now. Not saying they are competitive with Georgia, but I am saying that Kentucky is that much better than Tennessee, that Kentucky will beat the Vols this year. And it's not. Like, it would be a monumental upset for Tennessee to beat Kentucky.
I would agree.
And Tennessee fans just better get used to that, because that's just the reality of it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. You can watch us streaming live every day on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Coming up next, Ohio State loses, which we thought they, might lose to Minnesota when it got tough. This time it got a little too tough in in Columbus at home. They lose to Oregon. I could not be more happy about it. And I wonder if there's an interesting college football comparison upcoming for Ohio State. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
I really am. You gotta be. I mean, I just totally am. You've gotta be.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Good participation. We have a system now, thank goodness.
I had a funny moment happen.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I have a story.
Get a cupcake.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Compassion International is in Haiti right now, ready to help those devastated by the earthquake. Make your $40 gift by texting the keyword radio to 97646.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car to meet certification standards. A car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
The Electronic Express famous half-price fair is going on now. Save up to 50% in every department. Incredible savings on 4K TVs, appliances, computers, speakers and headphones, smart home, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. You won't find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The Electronic Express famous half-price fair is first come, first served. Ends Saturday at 9 p.m. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com now to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Attention homeowners. Interactive Mortgage has dropped rates again to a rock bottom 1.75% rate in APR. Yes, it's incredible. A rock bottom 1.75%. And if that's not enough, Interactive Mortgage will even pay your title, escrow, and appraisal fees. That's right, no points and no fees. Absolutely zero. Zilch. None. So what are you waiting for? Call now and take advantage of these never-before-offered rates. A 1.75% rate in APR with no fees whatsoever. Call Interactive Mortgage now at 844-392-CASH. 844-392-CASH. 844-392-2274. Or visit interactivemortgage.com. WinPoint Corporation, DBA Interactive Mortgage. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. New clients only. Loan amount $300,000 to $548,250. Minimum FICO of 740 and maximum LTV of 60%. All loans subject to underwriting approval, and not all applicants will qualify. NMLS number 302352.
Vaccines are not enough, and accurate thermometers are essential for everyone. COVID is once again a major concern, and fever is the key symptom for both the flu and COVID. An accurate thermometer, like the Exergen temporal scanner, is essential to detect fevers early and reliably. Studies have shown that non-contact thermometers are ineffective and therefore dangerous, as they create a false sense of security. Exergen is working with a single focus to ensure that everyone who needs an accurate thermometer can purchase one. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
14 seconds to go. Stroud in trouble again, and this time he goes down clean. Wow. And that'll do it. The Oregon Ducks come into Columbus and shock the college football world.
There you go, Gus Johnson on Fox. Oregon wins at Ohio State. Is it really a shocker? Ohio State didn't play well in the first week, and Oregon's a top 10 team. And we talked about, this is a big game for the Pac-12. And let me say this. with A&M averting disaster against Colorado, I mean, I really think that if the SEC gets a team that has one loss to Alabama after the title game, they're going to get 2 teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Because Ohio State has the loss to Oregon, and the Pac-12 is always viewed as kind of And then you've got Clemson with their loss to Georgia. So if Georgia can run the table, lose 1 game to Alabama, I think they're probably in the playoff. If Texas A&M can only lose 1 game, and that 1 game be to Alabama, they can probably find their way in there.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because they're not going to go to the SEC championship. And if it's Alabama and Georgia both go into the SEC championship undefeated, then they're both going to get in.
So if that happens, you're in a really tough spot of then deciding between Georgia and Texas A&M. And that's where all this common opponent stuff comes into play. I mean, you have to remember.
I would have no problem putting Georgia in over Texas A&M.
But you're going to have to remember that, like, for example, if Georgia loses by 30 to Alabama and A&M loses by 3, like that then becomes part of the argument and the discussion.
But then you have to bring up, okay, well, Georgia beat Clemson. And if Clemson wins out the rest of the season, wins the ACC, I still don't necessarily think that they make the college football playoff because the rest of their season is cupcake on cupcake.
But I'm just talking about a second SEC team.
Yeah, I think that feels like almost certain. But I think it would be Georgia over Texas A&M.
Right, but I'm just saying if. So like
Yes,
it could
yes,
be
yes.
like Georgia could lose again. Georgia's going to screw something up. I mean, it's Georgia, and their quarterback play is.
I don't think that's fair.
They've only screwed something up for the last 30 years.
Well, if that's your argument is, they'll screw something up because it's Georgia.
Ian, do you think Georgia will screw something up?
Hard to say.
I think Georgia's going to screw something up. But either way, I think the SEC is getting a second team in.
Yeah.
That the Ohio State loss was that. So I talked to I tweeted out after the game. I said, is Ryan Day the next Larry Coker? And people got mad. Oh, my God. First of all, I was just giddy that Ohio State lost. I can't stand Ohio State. Can't stand them.
I can't stand Ohio State either, but I'm also not totally counting them out.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
No, by no
I don't
means.
think that this is solidified 2 teams in the SEC 100%. It doesn't look great, but I still wouldn't be surprised if Ohio
But
State
I
gets
do
in.
wonder, is Ryan Day the next Larry Coker? Larry Coker wins the national championship, undefeated at Miami in his first year taking over for Butch Davis, undefeated, loses the national championship to Ohio State his second year, 3 years later, gone and the program's a mess. Because everybody loves Ryan Day right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't look good in week 1. And they certainly didn't look good in week 2. Now, I love this young quarterback they have because he looks like he's going to be a stud.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody wants to go ahead and anoint Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day the greatest coaches, but now they're going to have to coach with their players because now Urban's guys are on the way out, and these are Ryan Day's guys. And I asked a college coach, I said, because people were like, oh, yeah, there's Jared, something crazy saying he's the next Larry Coker. I said, Ryan Day is the next Larry Coker. College coach said, that's pretty good. I think he's very overrated. As a matter of fact, I think Ryan Day is a clown.
Wow.
So that's what a college coach told me.
Whoa.
So and I'm not saying he's the next Larry Coker, but I kind of feel like we just take these guys for granted. Like, oh, yeah, he took over for Urban, had all of Urban's players, wins for 2 years, and this guy is just fantastic, no questions asked. And I'm like, wait a minute now. We've seen this. Guy takes over a great program, wins because great program is so good you can't lose. And then after a while, when it becomes his butt on the line, here's Larry Coker at Miami. 12-0, 12-1, 11-2, 9-3, 9-3, 7-6 fired.
I'm not there yet.
Well, I'm not either. I'm just saying if.
I think one loss and one slow start to a season isn't going to say, he in a couple years he's going to be 7-6 and out of there.
Will Muschamp at Florida.
I mean, it's happened before. 100%.
It happened after Urban at Florida.
Okay,
I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything more.
I'm not counting it out as a possibility, but also I am not overreacting to a loss and a slow start.
I'm just saying
with a new quarterback.
To me, Ryan Day has to earn the elite coach status.
Yes.
And he hasn't done that.
He's been to the college football playoff twice.
Larry Coker won a national title and then got to the national title the next year.
Okay.
And Larry Coker is not an elite coach. And so Will Muschamp.
I'm not willing to say he's an elite coach either. But
so he's got to earn it.
Yeah.
So he's got to earn it.
What do you think makes an elite coach?
I mean, you got to win a title, and then you got to consistently be knocking at the door. Like Bob Stoops won a title and was consistently knocking at the door.
Yeah.
But Pete Carroll won titles, consistently knocking at the door. Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, like those are elite coaches. And I think Dabo, you have to put in there, for whatever that's worth.
I was going to ask, would you count Dabo in as an elite coach?
I can't stand Dabo, but yeah.
I think yes. If he's not there, he's on his way.
We got to get to Trevor. 615-737-1025. Trevor Maddich joins us next, ESPN college football analyst. Boy, do we have a lot to get to with Trevor. The biggest game is Sunday, and my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook are hooking you up. It's the Chiefs versus Ravens, and they're going to make it even bigger and badder because FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. That means you can end the weekend right by winning $150 on a $5 bet. I think it's pretty obvious that the Chiefs are going to win, so I just put all my money on the Chiefs if I were you. FanDuel is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 24 hours. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app. Just sign up with the promo code JGM, and this Sunday before the Chiefs take on the Ravens, and you could win $150 on a $5 bet. Remember to use the promo code JGM so they know that we sent you exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in a designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Titans, Seahawks. The Two-Tone Blues seeks a Week 2 victory in hostile territory. Tune in Sunday at 1 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Cool Springs. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whether you're driving for distance, pitching for precision, or putting to win it all, come to Edwin Watts Golf Shop to get custom fit for all your clubs throughout your bag. Hit a few balls and let our team show you the latest swing technology and data that will help optimize your game. Having each club tailored to become your gamers will help you start shooting lower scores. Let Edwin Watts Golf Shops help you make every shot the perfect one. Come in and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Blood Assurance, the area's only nonprofit community blood center, announces the opening of their new blood center at 600A Fraser Drive in Cool Springs. Now Williamson County has a new, convenient, comfortable, state-of-the-art blood center for donors to give the gift of life. Blood Assurance centers are the only facilities in Middle Tennessee where all blood donated goes to help many of our area local hospitals. To view the center's hours and to make an appointment, visit bloodassurance.org/schedule. Give life, give blood, give local.
Has she seen an engagement ring she really loves? A unique look from a top-notch designer? You won't find it at just any store, but you will at Genesis Diamonds.
At Genesis Diamonds, we work with the most sought-after designers in this country. We are proud to feature lines like Tacori, Verragio, Kirk Cara, Henry Dawsey, A. Jaffe, Jeff Cooper, Gabriel, and many more.
Since other jewelers can't get these designers, David says beware of knockoffs.
Often stores will result to copying or knocking off a designer ring just to compete with Genesis. And oftentimes, you will actually pay the same, if not more, for that fake.
Why risk it? Genesis has the real deal. Unique, handcrafted, cutting-edge designs and award-winning craftsmanship.
So not only will you get the exact product you wish with the brand you trust, but at a price that you can afford.
Get her the ring of her dreams at Genesis Diamonds.
Every girl wants a designer ring. They don't want Joe in the back room to make a copy. They want the real thing.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Saturday night.
Touchdown, Vanderbilt.
The Vanderbilt Commodores return to West End for a non-conference showdown with the Stanford Cardinal. Pre-game at 5:30. Kickoff at 7 on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company, the college football week is in the books. A very exciting week number 2, I should say. And we're joined now by ESPN college football analyst Trevor Maddich. Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, there were 2 games that stood out to me that I just think, my jaw dropped. The first, Ohio State versus Oregon. 2 weeks in a row, Ryan Day's Ohio State Buckeyes have not lived up to the billing. They started off slow. They worked their way into a comeback. Minnesota is not good enough to finish the job. Oregon was. How concerned are a team that we pinned into the college football playoff before the season, Ohio State? How concerned are you about the Buckeyes?
The Buckeyes look to me like Oklahoma from a few years ago. Offense that can score a lot of points, defense that'll give up even more. And until they fix that, there's no way they're even a Big Ten championship team, much less a playoff team. The offense got a lot of grief last week, but they put up over 600 yards against Oregon. They made some mistakes. They missed some opportunities, but it was really on the offensive side. But it was the defensive side, Jared, that was just horrific. I did a breakdown on SportsCenter and called the Ohio State defense the grand marshal of the parade of mental errors, because there were so many times when they, for the second week in a row, were in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. And, Oregon, give them credit. I mean, Oregon matched up with Ohio State physically and from a standpoint of speed. So it was truly a fair fight. But, for example, there was a 77-yard Oregon touchdown run, 77 yards right up the middle by C.J. Verdell. On that play, the H-back lined up left of the offensive formation by the left tackle. At the snap, he came across to the right. The deep safety came up to cover him one-on-one. The middle linebacker, who was over the center, chased him over to the offensive right because he thought he had that guy one-on-one. So the middle linebacker ran out of the middle of the formation, covering a guy he wasn't supposed to cover, and that was the very place that C.J. Verdell hit for a 77-yard touchdown. And there were a bunch of stuff that went wrong with that defense. I mean, there was one particular play that variations of which Oregon scored 3 touchdowns down in the red zone. It was a running play wide left. Variation of the exact same play. And Ohio State never did figure out how to stop that play. If they were still playing today, they would have scored another 15 touchdowns on that play. The mental errors, the missed assignments, that part of it made the Ohio State defense not ready for prime time. For goodness sake, they're not ready for any time. Not yet.
So I talked to a college coach about Ryan Day, Trevor, because we were just kicking this around in the last segment. And everybody wants to put Ryan Day in the elite coach category, and I just don't think he's earned that. Yes, he's been to the playoffs in 2 years, but that's Urban Meyer's team. And we saw Will Muschamp win a lot of games at Florida with Urban Meyer's players. And we saw Larry Coker win a lot of games at Miami with Butch Davis's players. And I think Ryan Day, and I'm not saying he won't, but he's got to earn, in my opinion, the elite coach status. And I talked to a college coach, and I said, is Ryan Day the next Larry Coker? And he said, I think Ryan Day is very overrated. As a matter of fact, I think Day is a clown. And I read that, and I was like, woo, those are some fighting words. Now, again, coaches can say whatever they want off the record. But I do wonder if this kind of is an opportunity for either the rest of the Big Ten or, in my opinion, Trevor, the SEC to go gain a second seat if Ryan Day really isn't up to the standard that Urban Meyer was at Ohio State.
Well, I'll tell you, I would not agree in any way that Ryan Day is a clown. I think that is a completely unfair characterization. I think Ryan Day is a very good coach. For goodness sake, he coached him at the national championship game last year with a defense that was a bit suspect.
Yeah, but he had Urban's players.
Urban's players, but you got to coach them up. I mean, you can have super talented players, and if they're not coached up, and the offense is his venue. And this offense, even with the quarterback that never threw a college pass until the opener 2 weeks ago against Minnesota, this offense, for the last 3 halves, has been very, very good. It's the defense that's been the problem. And they've got a new defensive coordinator in Kerry Coombs, and the defense just isn't performing. They just don't know what to do, and what they do, they don't do very well. And that's not Ryan Day's side of the ball. And, I remember when Steve Spurrier coached for the Washington football team, the head coach, the special teams was really a liability in one of those years. And I remember the press asked Steve Spurrier if he was going to go coach the special teams personally. He said, yeah, I think I will. Well, what does Steve Spurrier know about special teams that he can really bring to that, right? He's an offensive guy. You trust your coordinators to get the rest of it done. And right now, Ryan Day is in the process of getting over on the defense even more than he normally has been. But really, if you want to say that he has failed as a head coach, it's because he has allowed a defensive coordinator, first year, who has never called plays above the high school level for as a defensive coordinator, is now your guy, right? And so you can make the case that he has the wrong guy as defensive coordinator, but you can't say by any stretch, at least not now, that Ryan Day is not a good coach.
No, and I would say Kerry Coombs was here for a while under Vrabel as a DB's coach. I never thought he was like a defensive coordinator type guy. Trevor Maddich with us, ESPN college football analyst. The other game I wanted to get your thoughts on, Arkansas just smokes Texas. And I got to say this Sam Pittman has done a heck of a job at Arkansas, a place that is really hard to win at in the toughest division of college football. What did you make of that?
You know, it really surprised me that this game turned out the way it did, Jared, because I thought Arkansas would come out hot. They would hit Texas in the mouth early in that game, and then Texas would start to gather, regroup, and start to hit some plays. You know, start to get running back Bijan Robinson the ball in space and claw their way back for a win. Instead, what happened was Arkansas came out, hit Texas in the mouth, and then kept hitting Texas in the mouth. When they smashed out all of Texas's teeth, they started smashing out other things out of Texas's head. And the storyline coming into that game was that Arkansas wanted to welcome Texas to the SEC early, give them that physicality of the SEC, right? Well, what Arkansas did really was show that Texas still isn't ready to take that hit in the mouth and then do well. Texas had a reputation before Sarkisian took over for several coaching staffs as having entitled elitist athletes, not elite so much as elitist athletes that felt like because they are good in high school, they deserve to be at Texas, and because they're wearing the Longhorn on their helmet, then everybody's going to just fall away. And once you hit them in the mouth, they wilt. Well, Texas did nothing, absolutely nothing, to change that reputation. And right now, it's hard to say what they can do. They've got to face another physical team and be more physical, because right now Texas looks like they're going to be in a whole lot of trouble if they don't change a lot of things once they enter the SEC.
Mm-hmm. What I think is crazy right now about the college football playoff, Trevor Maddich, our guest, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Like, I'm going to assume Alabama's going to go undefeated and make it into the playoffs, so I'll go ahead and put them in there. Clemson has a loss. Ohio State has a loss. Oklahoma should probably roll in the Big 12, especially after what happened to Iowa State this past weekend, but there's no guarantee there. A&M, survived a disaster with a backup quarterback at Colorado. I mean, I look at this, Trevor, and we want parity in college football. We're 2 weeks into the season, and outside of Alabama, I think there is a lot to discuss down the stretch.
There's a huge jumble, isn't there? And, you mentioned Ohio State's chances of making the playoff. Ohio State fans right now need to look west with their heart in their throat, because Oregon, turns out they're really good. According to their head coach, Mario Cristobal, after the game, they were missing not two starters on defense, Kayvon Thibodeau and Justin Flo, two amazing all-stars. They were missing 5 total starters. So the committee will have a chance, if Oregon wins out, and if Ohio State wins out, to look at that game and say, okay, Ohio State, even though they had injuries of their own, I get it, a lot of injuries, especially on defense, Ohio State did. That explains some of the missed assignments and stuff. But the committee now has a chance to look at the Buckeyes and say, okay, how do I differentiate between you and Oregon? Well, let's see. At home, Oregon beat you head-to-head when Oregon was missing half its starting defense. Okay, Ducks are in, right? So now Ohio State needs to hope Oregon loses, much in the same way that Clemson needs to hope that Georgia loses. I mean, for goodness sake, Clemson loses the head-to-head. It was a hard-fought game. I get it. First-year starting quarterback. I get it for Clemson. But Clemson loses that game head-to-head. That means that if Georgia wins out, and they have a very good chance to win out just because they have about as easy an SEC schedule as you can have in that conference, but have to face Alabama in the regular season. If they get to the SEC championship game, and if it is Alabama, and they lose a tight one to Alabama, if you're Clemson, Clemson wins out, Clemson's going to say, yeah, but we're a conference champion. And the committee has a chance to say, yeah, but Clemson, you lost head-to-head to Georgia Georgia's a one-loss non-champ, and we're putting them in. So both Clemson and Ohio State now, which seem to be relative locks for the playoff, are actually way, way behind the curve, especially if Georgia continues to win, and Oregon.
Trevor Matich is our guest, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Coming up next, USC. 2 games for Clay Helton. See ya. Big job hits the market. Could an SEC coach be in the mix? Plus, what do we think about the league after a couple weeks? And the Vols don't get it done against Pittsburgh. Vandy gets their first win, too. We'll check in with Trevor Matich on all that. Next, Stillman & Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the evening hours tonight as temperatures drop back to the upper 60s. Better chance for rain on the way for Wednesday. Scattered showers and storms. Some could be on the heavy side. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
Lately, we've been getting a lot of calls and questions about acoustic wave therapy for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. This is a relatively new treatment for ED, but one we've been using for years. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or any option to help your ED, it's worth a visit to check us out. Our wave therapy protocols use acoustic wave technology, but often also combine it with other treatments that can give most of our patients far higher satisfaction rates. There is no surgery nor any type of invasive procedures required, and while most clinics you hear about only offer sound wave treatments, with our urologist and provider's guidance, you can likely have sex the day after your appointment and experience fewer letdowns. With another one of our ED treatments, you can last up to an hour and a half, and our expertise in treating these issues means you'll get the results you want. So make your appointment today. We'll show you why our acoustic wave program is the better way to do wave therapy. Call us today at 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
312 Pizza Company is home to Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
Attention homeowners. Interactive Mortgage has dropped rates again to a rock-bottom 1.75% rate in APR. Yes, it's incredible. A rock-bottom 1.75%. And if that's not enough, Interactive Mortgage will even pay your title, escrow, and appraisal fees. That's right. No points and no fees. Absolutely zero. Zilch. None. So what are you waiting for? Call now and take advantage of these never-before-offered rates. A 1.75% rate in APR with no fees whatsoever. Call Interactive Mortgage now at 844-392-CASH. 844-392-CASH. 844-392-2274. Or visit interactivemortgage.com. WinPoint Corporation, DBA Interactive Mortgage. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. New clients only. Loan amount $300,000 to $548,250. Minimum FICO of 740 and maximum LTV of 60%. All loans subject to underwriting approval, and not all applicants will qualify. NMLS number 302352.
Robbie Stanley.
That size and that speed just doesn't grow on trees. That could be something that you could really turn into.
Joe Rexrode.
Just hold out and somebody will call in the bad signal.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You're listening to Stillman & Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. Trevor Matich, ESPN college football analyst, is with us, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Yesterday, USC announces that they're firing Clay Helton 2 games into the season. 2 games. USC, a big job comes available. Now, we saw when Tennessee came available this past winter that was kind of a difficult job to get filled, and they'd call people, and people weren't all that interested. And USC has run through a bunch of coaches over the last handful of years, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Clay Helton. So what is out there? Trevor Maddich with us. Trevor, if you had to go ahead and handicap for me the USC coaching search, what would you say?
I would say that they can almost name the coach, and they'll be able to pull away some pretty big names from their current jobs if they want those guys over there. USC they just upgraded their football facilities. They have redoubled their commitment to football. They want to be the USC of old. They just need to get the right coach in, the right guy to get it all done. And so, there are some real pie-in-the-sky talk out there. Some people are talking about luring Pete Carroll away from the Seattle Seahawks to come back and coach USC again. That seems to be about impossible. A lot of people are trying to get Urban Meyer to leave the Jacksonville Jaguars and come to USC. Well, if that were the case, if they wanted him, they should have got him last year instead of letting him go to the NFL. Right now, I'm probably thinking that Urban might be thinking that USC might be the better spot, but how do you leave after one season in the NFL? Well, I'll bet you Urban's going to be on the phone to Nick Saban and ask him how that worked out for him 1 year with the Miami Dolphins and then back out to Alabama. So, but USC right now is a much more attractive job than Tennessee, much more attractive job than Tennessee when they've had to fill it the last couple of times. So I don't think they're going to have a problem. What they do need there, though, is someone more along the lines of Pete Carroll. In other words, someone with great charisma, great personality, a lot of individual star power, because that's where they're recruiting. And they've got to be very careful that UCLA doesn't overshadow them, because all of a sudden UCLA is the hot college team in Southern California. So, the way I see that, they're going to have options. I couldn't tell you who I think is going to be the guy. I just know that it's a really, really good job. And it's actually a better job now than it was just a couple of years ago before they started putting all these upgrades into place.
How would you look at getting that kind of guy with the charisma? Because I can throw out all the same names, the hot coaches, the Dan Campbell at Iowa State and Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, and there's probably 6 or 7 guys, and yet, to your point, what works at Iowa State may not work in Los Angeles at USC.
Yes, well, one of the things that needs to work is player development. That's one of the problems at USC also, that they got in some pretty good recruits, but they weren't able to forge them into enough of a cohesive unit. When you talk about Matt Campbell at Iowa State, that's what he's done best, right? And Luke Fickell, I don't see him leaving Cincinnati. He's an Ohio guy. He's got that on a roll, and in a couple of years they're about to enter the Big 12. So he'll be in the Power 5 in a conference that he thinks he can win with his program. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. But, USC right now, unfortunately for them, is kind of they're not really a developmental program, but they need to forge more. I'll tell you this, Jared, they have wanted to fire Luke Fickell for years. Not Luke Fickell.
You mean Clay Helton?
Clay Helton, USC.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
years.
he's been on the hot seat for 5 years.
But here's the problem. So 2016, I think, season, he wins the Rose Bowl, so they can't fire him. So the next year, he wins the conference. Okay, well, they can't fire him. Now they're trying to fire him for a few years. Last year, they won the division during a COVID year. All right, so now they can't fire him. So they're just looking for the excuse to fire him, and this home loss, embarrassing home loss to a truly bad Stanford team, it was their excuse. So they've been trying to get rid of him for a while. They finally just ripped the Band-Aid off.
So Luke Fickell was asked about the job, basically. Well, the athletic director at USC was his boss that hired him at Cincinnati, so a lot of people are putting it together. Here's what Luke Fickell said today when asked about the USC job.
This is a crazy world and a crazy business, and I think it does nothing more than show a lot of us that, stability is great in this business, and when you can create some stability in the things that are around you, grass is not always greener. And if not anything, it does, if you're going to spend any time thinking about it, it does make you realize what great fortunes you have to be building something and have some stability, not just for you as a person and you as a family guy, but you as a program and the kids in your program.
So I watched Charlie Strong, Trevor, take a job at Texas from Louisville that probably wasn't a good fit for him. and it certainly didn't do anything for the university, and I think Charlie probably regrets that. Do you think Luke Fickell's looking at that, to your point, saying, look, if I go out to USC, I'm going to have to win almost every single game I coach, whereas I can stay here at Cincinnati, make $6 million a year, go into the Big 12, and maybe once I'm there, try to compete for a title.
And be beloved among Cincinnati fans and faculty and administration, right? You go to USC, immediately you're on the hot seat, especially if you're Fickell, because he is absolutely a Midwest guy. Absolutely a hard-nosed Midwest guy. The kind of guy that Clay Helton is, although Clay Helton is kind of an affable guy, but he still was more of a no-nonsense kind of football coach, and when things went south, that was part of what he was criticized for. I think Luke Fickell's agent will certainly make him a lot of money off of this, because his agent will make sure that his name stays floated out there as a possibility for this job and for every other job that comes up. And that is good for Fickell's pocketbook. It's also good for recruiting, because I think Fickell, in saying that, just listening to him, was talking to recruits more than anything else, saying, look, Midwestern recruits, Ohio recruits, you want to come win a national championship? You can now do it here because of where we are now and where we're going. We have the continuity. We're not going anywhere. You want to win, you come here, we'll be here. You don't have to worry about us not being around. And so it sounded to me like that was very much a recruiting pitch more than any other single thing.
Trevor Maddich with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. What do we think about the SEC after 2 weeks? Georgia beats Clemson. Arkansas beats Texas. A&M survives an average Colorado team. Alabama's killing everybody, and they've got Florida coming up, and Saban's already mad at his team. What do we make of the SEC right now?
Saban already mad. Yeah, Saban. Listen, when you win a tight one, Saban is happy. When you lose a game, Saban is going to encourage you and build you up. When you win a game, but let a few things slip, that's when he's going to hammer you. That's what happened after their opener. It's kind of funny. I think the SEC right now is a little bit different, though. You know, it seemed like Florida was going to be the competition for Georgia, and they're 11th in the nation right now, so Florida's highly ranked, but I just don't believe in their defense. I don't think their running game is particularly dynamic, and I think they've got big problems at quarterback. I mean, Anthony Richardson, the super frosh, has lit it up. I mean, lit it up in the limited time that he has, but Dan Mullen keeps on answering media questions about whether he should start with saying you have to be able to run the offense. So I think they're best using Richardson like they're using him now. Put him in, let him make spectacular individual plays, but don't make him have to run the whole offense yet. He's not ready. So Emory Jones, hit and miss. It's real spotty. I don't think Florida is going to be the team to challenge Georgia. That's what we thought coming in, though, to the season, right? Kentucky is looking like they will be absolutely that team. All of a sudden, Kentucky, who couldn't throw the ball down the field for anything, for love or money or anything else, in recent years, all of a sudden with Will Levis, they have connected down the field, and they still have that good running game. I mean, Kentucky is looking like a true contender. A&M, which looked to be a team that was ready to compete with Alabama. They go up to Colorado, and I get it that their quarterback got hurt, but the second-string quarterback apparently was in a tight competition before the season started. He was supposed to be pretty good, and the running game went nowhere against Colorado. I mean, the Colorado defense well and truly stuffed C.J. Spiller in that running game. So A&M doesn't seem anywhere near ready for Alabama. I thought LSU would come into the season as a much improved team, but clearly we know that they're not as good as UCLA. So are they in competition? So right now in the West, it's looking to me like Ole Miss might be the team if their defense continues to perform well. Ole Miss might be that team to become what we thought A&M and LSU might be in the West, and Kentucky might be the Florida Gators position that we thought would happen in the East. So in 2 weeks, this whole thing has kind of flipped upside down.
Trevor Maddich with us. Last thing for you, Trevor. Tennessee barely loses to Pittsburgh. Vanderbilt beats Colorado State for Clark Lee's first win. What did you think of those two?
You know what? I was so proud of Vanderbilt. You know, the offense was going nowhere early in the game. The defense forced a couple of field goals down in the red zone in the first half, actually missed field goals down in the red zone because they ended up driving Colorado State back and made those field goals even longer than they would have been. So, you know, and then all of a sudden the passing game cranked up and And I was just really proud of how Vanderbilt finished that game. Tennessee is so close to being so good. I mean, you watched that game last week. Tennessee had receivers running open a lot, 20, 30 yards down the field sometimes. And Joe Milton wasn't able to hit him. Hendon Hooker did a much better job of that, as a matter of fact. But Milton wasn't able to hit him. I mean, he's so exciting. He'll throw that ball, it'll go 70 yards in the air and then hit the grass, right? But that receiver that's running open 20 yards down the field, he's missing a lot. All they need to do is start to connect with those, whoever the quarterback is. And this Tennessee team, all of a sudden, can make a real big jump start. As it is, this was a really good Pitt team that they came within a touchdown of, and they had the ball and a chance with 5 minutes to go when they threw an interception, Hooker, at the end. So, I think they're much better and much closer than people think. And the key to making the difference is whoever is throwing the ball, hit the guys that are open, because they are getting open.
Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters. Trev, appreciate you. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Maddich joining us on the program. Coming up next, it's only been one game, but a lot of people are starting to sense something about Mike Vrabel, including Dan Graziano at ESPN, that thinks that Mike Vrabel may be very frustrated with his team, and it makes me wonder about a big picture issue with the Titans. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are two guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
Every team's got those. That's my point.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot. Great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Hooked in and headed in. Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
Hey, mortgage rates have taken a nosedive, back to the lowest in history. Don't miss your chance to lock in a lower house payment with Loan Pronto now. Hey, it's Willie Donna. Call Loan Pronto today and take advantage of their super popular zero-cost refi program. You can get a rate with an APR in the low twos with no junk fees and no closing costs. Yes, they pay your closing costs. Who else does this? Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Virtually no paperwork required, and most loans get closed in 14 days. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Think about that little bonus. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Get your forever loan today. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost option.
Stay Golden, a locally owned and operated restaurant and roastery that serves breakfast, brunch, and lunch with a full coffee and liquor bar. Stay Golden does it right with scratch-made biscuits, locally sourced food, and handcrafted cocktails. They even source and roast their own coffee. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Right in the heart of the Design District in Berry Hill, 2934 Sidco Drive. Stay-golden.com to find out more.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Karachian CBD. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Karachian CBD. Karachian means healing, and that right there says it all. Karachian is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Karachian is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets too. Order yours now at KarachianCompany.com. Karachian CBD, curated for life.
Joe Rexrode here, talking biggest game of Sunday, Chiefs-Ravens, and FanDuel's about to make it even bigger because FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win by winning $150 on a $5 bet. Look, I'm a big Chiefs believer. You can go either way on this, and you can do so many things on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. #1 rated sportsbook app in America. Very easy to use, safe and secure, fast payouts. FanDuel is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. And when you win, you get paid as little as 24 hours. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up with promo code Joe102 this Sunday before the Chiefs take on the Ravens, and you can win $150 on a $5 bet. Remember to use promo code Joe102 so they know why I sent you. Exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game. We all know that I like listening to Boston sports talk radio, and every day it was like the gossip channel. Well, Brady feels this, Belichick feels that, and I was just so jealous. Oh, was I jealous? We couldn't gossip about it. They don't ever talk about the Titans on ESPN. The only time they ever talked about the Titans over the last 5 years on ESPN was that whole 2-month period where it was like, are they going to re-sign Ryan Tannehill or are they going to sign Tom Brady? What do we think?
And then the COVID outbreak.
Yeah, but that wasn't really, that was just like them talking about it. This was more so like, everyday gossip. That was just kind of COVID. This was gossip, and I love gossip like that. Then the Titans traded for Julio Jones, and that's your gossip. And now Julio Jones picks up an inexcusable 15-yard penalty. He could have gotten kicked out of the game for throwing a punch. And Vrabel says, don't do dumb you-know-what to hurt the team. And then ESPN today, oh, man, they're all over it. So Titan fans, and you've been monitoring the text line, but Titan fans were incredibly enamored with the idea of getting Julio Jones. From a digital standpoint, I'm not sure, other than obviously when we had our memorial show for Floyd, I'm not sure I've seen anything like the speculation talk around Julio Jones and how the fans reacted to that. They cared. And then they add Julio Jones, and we're out at practice, and people want reports, and Julio doesn't practice much, but the fans don't care because they just want to see Julio Jones. I was at the stadium on Sunday. So were you. I saw Julio jerseys. I saw Julio T-shirts. I saw Falcons Julio jerseys. Everything. He's a star. And they want him to play like a star, and he stunk on Sunday. Now, we've gotten criticized because we said at the time we wouldn't have made the deal the Titans made in order to pick up Julio Jones. And so now, one game in, Julio's not doing much, and fans are going to be upset, but they believe, hey, you just watch, and maybe they're right. But I always think it's funny that when you get a superstar in, now all of a sudden the drama and the gossip and it starts to pick up. And Dan Graziano, ESPN NFL insider, went on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max this morning on ESPN Radio, and Dan Graziano was asked about Mike Vrabel's comments. Ian, if we could get Vrabel's comments from yesterday regarding the Julio Jones 15-yard penalty, which not only killed the team, but was also stupid, and also involved him throwing a punch. You throw a punch in an NFL game, you get kicked out of the game. And if it was anybody but Boger's crew, they probably would have kicked him out of the game. And could you imagine what the discussion today would be like if they had kicked him out of the game? Oh, my goodness. So, Julio gets the penalty. Vrabel yesterday asked about the penalty. Here's what he says.
See from Julio, and maybe did he give you maybe a talking point already about maybe keeping your composure and getting that penalty?
Sure. Critical mistake. I don't think that those are absolutely, that's absolutely nothing that we coach or teach. So that would fall into the category of doing dumb that hurts the team. Right there. in bold letters. Goes from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 16.
So everybody's worked up. They're like, oh, my goodness, like, what did on ESPN, what do we think Vrabel means by this? What do you think? And, I mean, you can interpret it however you want. But Dan Graziano was on ESPN radio this morning and said that he thinks that this is Vrabel's unhappiness coming to the surface. Take a listen.
When I was at Titans camp, I was asking Vrabel, I always ask everybody, what's your big concern heading into the season? He said, these guys, and he's talking about his veteran players, have not all been on the practice field together enough. Julio Jones was sitting out nursing some stuff. A.J. Brown, similar stuff. There was a lot of rest going on there, and Vrabel was concerned the team would not be ready to play out of the gate because of this. And I think, he's venting toward Julio Jones, who, by the way, one of the reasons he's not in Atlanta anymore is they didn't like that he basically didn't practice a lot during the season because he was nursing health injuries. So they've got to all get on the same page there in terms of how they prepare for games in Tennessee. I think they will, but I think this is legitimate frustration bubbling to the surface.
So Dan Graziano says Vrabel's mad. And we talked about yesterday how Vrabel, a Patriot who loves practice, can have all these guys that don't practice. And how that's just got to eat at him inside. And I wonder this. You think Vrabel regrets the trade? Remember the trade when it happened, and Vrabel said that talking to Nick Saban was a big part of why they were able to believe that they could make this trade. Now, I told you all 2 weeks ago what I heard in Atlanta, that Julio didn't want to practice, Julio didn't show up to walkthroughs, Julio would run off the field in important situations, that at one point in 2019, a gadget play was called for Julio at Carolina, and he ran off the field. That is the same as sticking your middle finger in the coach's face. And we know that doesn't fly with Vrabel. So Vrabel talks to Saban, and Saban says, when I had Julio, and I don't know what Saban said, but whatever Saban said convinced Vrabel that this could work out. Titans trade the second-round pick. Titans take on the $15 million. Julio says all the right things at the beginning. They're assured that Julio's going to have the team-first attitude, that he's going to do it the Titan way, because you can't come in here and not do things the Titan way. You can't have Derrick Henry doing things and you not do them. You can't have 52 guys doing one thing and one guy doing another thing. Certain programs you can do that, not here. And yet here we are. Julio's selfishness has already cost the Titans a 15-yard penalty that was monumental on Sunday. He dropped the football. He's not prepared to play. He didn't make an impact on Sunday. He didn't get open. Vrabel said what he said. And Stephen A. Smith on First Take today brought up the fact that he thinks Vrabel's comments were personal in nature.
I've seen Vrabel as a football coach. He ain't never done that to no player before. Yeah. So why would you do it to a new dude who's Julio Jones, who you acquired in the offseason? There's got to be something there that has ticked you off about him on a personal level, because that was a personal shot.
So, what do we think? Do we think Vrabel regrets the trade? Do we think Vrabel's frustrated with Julio? Do we think Vrabel looks at this and thought, oh, goodness, I thought this guy would come in here and do things the Titan way, and it's not going to happen, and now I got to nip it in the bud?
I think there's a difference between being frustrated with Julio and regretting a trade. I think it's the same thing with a friend. You can be friends with them forever. If they make one mistake, if they do one thing that makes you mad, you don't regret being friends with them. So I think that Vrabel is frustrated with Julio. I think that he's frustrated with the fact that Julio wasn't able to get as much practice time probably that Mike Vrabel would have hoped. I think that Mike Vrabel is probably frustrated with the fact that Julio did get a 15-yard penalty. I don't think it was the difference between a win and a loss in that game, but still I think he's frustrated nonetheless. I think he might be a little frustrated with his progress. I don't think he regrets the trade.
See, I think he might.
It's way too early.
If Graziano's right, I think he might.
It's way too early.
But see, here's why I think he might. Because all the things, I said this earlier today on the show, what I had heard, when I just told you that gadget story, about running a gadget play for Julio and Julio running off the field, if Floyd Reese had heard that story and he was the general manager of the Titans, and I don't know who Vrabel and Robinson talked to, I know Thomas Dimitroff was the general manager in Atlanta when Julio was there, and that he and John Robinson worked together in New England. In fact, Floyd took office when he got to New England. And so I know they know each other. I don't know what Vrabel's relationship with Dan Quinn and his coaching staff is. But if Floyd Reese had heard that story, he would have never traded for Julio Jones, no matter what Nick Saban had said to him. And we know how close those two guys were, that it would not have mattered. If he had heard a story that 2 years ago a play was called for Julio Jones and he ran off the field, that's it. He's not interested. Now, people will look at Floyd's tenure as general manager and say that maybe because he didn't take a lot of those shots at times, didn't go after the big-name players, that, maybe the Titans could have won the Super Bowl when he didn't do that. And when he went for the big-name players, it worked with Kevin Carter. It didn't work with Carl Pickens. So you can argue how you want, but he would have never, I just know him, and I know that if he had heard that, he would have had no interest at that point. That would have been a binary decision. And I think Vrabel has all the concerns that we talked about. Julio doesn't practice much. Julio's had a bad attitude in Atlanta. Julio makes a lot of money. You're investing a high draft pick in Julio. He's got to, and I think Vrabel thought about all those things. And somehow Robinson and he got talked out of it or got convinced that this would work. And now everything that they were worried about, that so far every test that they have passed, Julio has failed. Remember Julio's up there in age. Like, what do we think about him getting hurt? Gets hurt in camp. Well, Julio doesn't practice much, so we need to get a schedule of him practicing so that we can. Julio doesn't practice all training camp. Like, those things are important to Vrabel. And so he was told, this will work out. And so far they haven't. Now, attitude and selfishness, week one, he's shown that he's selfish. So if he's going to show this with a selfish play, I shouldn't say he's shown that he's selfish. That was a selfish play. All those things start to add up, and everything you thought in the back of your mind all of a sudden gets you a little worried, like, oh no. Oh, no. And because it's not like the Titans just signed Julio and that he's on a 1-year, $5 million contract, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. You are committed to him this year and next year for sure, most likely the third year, and you sent a second-round pick. And if this one doesn't work out because of the teeth of that deal, if this doesn't work out, and this team doesn't perform to expectations, which are incredibly lofty in large part because of this trade, Vrabel could get fired. Like, he legitimately could get fired over Julio Jones not working out. I know people hate when you say that. It's amazing. People never want to talk about somebody getting fired. And then all of a sudden they just decide one day, we got to fire that guy. We got to fire them. Like, no, it's a gradual process that leads to you getting shown the door. And I'm not saying Vrabel will get shown the door or should get shown the door. I'm saying if I was Vrabel, if I were Vrabel and Robinson, which we probably need to keep separate because they're two different guys, but I would be worried about this trade costing me my job.
I think it's a legitimate fear because, like you said, the things that we were worried about with Julio coming in, his age, his injuries, his attitude, his production. Yes, we've seen a glimpse. All of those worries that we've had a little glimpse of confirming that those worries were probably true.
And we've had no glimpse of the good stuff.
But it's too early because how much time have you been able to give him a glimpse of the good stuff? Training camp in one game? I think regretting trading for Julio is such a bold statement. If the Titans, have a losing season, then yeah, I think that maybe you can start to have that conversation. If Julio comes in the game and drops balls, can't complete passes, can't score,
can't get open.
If he becomes a legitimate cancer in this locker room, then yes. None of those things have come to fruition yet.
Yes, they have. He dropped the ball on Sunday.
He dropped the ball. He had a 15-yard
penalty,
and he wasn't completed in training camp. You can't say that you regret trading for Julio Jones when you've had a glimpse of a little bit of the worry. I would agree with you. I think you can have legitimate concerns. You cannot say that you regret trading for him because what have we talked about so much over this offseason? The potential of this offense now that Julio Jones is part of it.
So when does it become regret? Like, when did David Poyle regret signing Matt Duchene? When did John Robinson and Vrabel regret signing Jadeveon Clowney and Vic Beasley?
Not after one game.
I'll argue, oh my God, Beasley played 2 games. I will argue that they regretted signing Vic Beasley the second he didn't show up for training camp on time. They regretted it. Like, they did it.
I don't think that's fair.
Oh, Ian, do you think that they regretted Beasley as soon as he didn't show up for training camp last year?
I don't know about as soon as started training camp, but I think once the season got going and they realized he was going to be a zero impact, I don't think it took too long.
He played 2 games and they cut him. They paid him $9.5 million. He played 2 games and they cut him.
Well, he was fined and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, because he showed up late because he didn't show up. They didn't know where he was. They placed him on the suspended list.
So at least Julio hasn't gotten that far yet.
It's like I argued this stuff about the Isaiah Wilson thing last year when he was getting in trouble and he got the DUI, and it's like, do you regret the first-round pick? And everyone say, nah, Jared, he's young. He'll figure it out. I'm like, it's a first-round pick. Like, if you knew any of this stuff, you wouldn't draft the guy, so why would you not regret it now? If I had told you when they made the Julio trade that he wouldn't practice and that he would show up in the first game, drop passes, get a selfish penalty, and we don't even know what's going on behind the scenes, like what the conversations are like. Mm-hmm. Julio may be the most team-first player in the world. I don't know. But at some point, I don't think that it becomes – this isn't like benching a guy where there comes a moment where if you do it, you do it, there's no going back. This is in your own personal mind of like, oh, my God, what did I just do? And I would not be surprised if the Titans were there because of what they've invested in them. Because there is no out clause on this.
But I think
I'm sorry to cut you off, and screwing this up will get both those guys fired. Like, if they misread on this and this blows up in their face, they probably both get fired over it over time. Just like how Peter Laviolette's already been fired over the Matt Duchene thing. David Poyle's probably going to get fired over the Matt Duchene thing. And John Hines, who doesn't even like Matt Duchene, is probably going to get fired over the Matt Duchene thing. Like, I mean, it might be Matt's fault, but guess what? You're committed. And that's where I feel like the Titans are with Julio.
But it's easy to say that with Matt Duchene because we've seen for incomplete seasons that he cannot produce at the level that the Predators expected him to.
Sure, but Laviolette got fired after half a season with him.
Okay, we are 1 game in.
Right. I'm asking you if Vrabel regrets it today. Attitude. What is Julio's attitude? Practice habits. Like, those Patriot coaches care about those things. The fans never care about practice. Like, never. Like, it does not matter to the fans if you practice or don't practice. But
it matters to the fans when you go out on week 1 and
then they use
get
it against
embarrassed.
You. Right,
yes.
like, all the fans don't care that Taylor Lewan has a podcast. But when he gets knocked over by a defensive back, they don't like it. And then all of a sudden it's like, too busy on his podcast, he needs to get off of it. But, like, that's how the game works. And so I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And I'm just saying all the negatives that were brought up when you made the huge investment on Julio Jones that nobody else in the NFL was willing to do, right now it looks like it's an issue. And even Dan Graziano saying Vrabel tells him his biggest frustration, these guys aren't practicing. 615-737-1025. Here's the question. Caroline says no.
Not yet.
I think Vrabel is really worried. I think Vrabel and Robinson should be worried about Julio. 615-737-1025. Do you think Vrabel should be worried? TriStar Moving, my official movers. I have been telling you about TriStar Moving for almost a year now. I absolutely love TriStar Moving, even though I hate moving in general. But they make the process so easy that you got to go with them. That's why their motto is TriStar Movers with 5-star service. TriStar Moving will take care of your home with that home protection covering your floors, banisters, railings, door jambs, even the doors themselves. When they moved me, there wasn't a scratch at my old house and not a scratch at my new house. And that was really, really important. They're always upping the game when it comes to mover training. They take care of everything, including mattresses with protective bags and TVs with protective boxes. They even have a brand new state-of-the-art storage facility in Mount Juliet. Their owners, Garrett and Robert, are true Nashvillians, and they want to help out their hometown. That's why their company, TriStar Moving, is the real deal and quickly on the rise, all due to the very high standard that they hold. So give my friends at TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit the website nashvillemoving.org/radio. they'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving at 615-640-1219, nationalmoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Touchdown, Tennessee, A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown and the 0-1 Titans are headed to Seattle for a crucial Week 2 showdown with DK Metcalf and the Seahawks. And we've got you covered with nonstop coverage all week long.
Maybe Vrabel can pull something off and totally change the discussion a week from now.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is going on now. Save up to 50% in every department. Incredible savings on 4K TVs, appliances, computers, speakers and headphones, smart home, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. You won't find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is first come, first served. Ends Saturday at 9 p.m. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
I come from a military family.
That's Stasha at Genesis Diamonds talking about the Hero Rewards program at Genesis, providing special discounts every day for heroes in uniform.
Whatever their budget is, we're going to make sure it stretches the best for them and that they will get the most beautiful ring at the best value.
Special hero pricing on any item extends to all military plus police, fire, and first responders.
They make us have the great life we have, and we are eternally grateful for that.
Genesis Hero Rewards program and free services is yours for life, no matter where you move.
Travel anywhere in the world, we're one phone call away. So no matter where you're stationed, if you're military or if you're a police officer and you go to another state, we're going to take good care of you.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that Genesis owner Boaz Ramon is himself a veteran of the Israeli army.
Boaz, having served in the military, appreciates the military and what they do for us.
Genesis Diamonds, where our heroes in uniform get red carpet pricing and white glove treatment every day of the year.
We're there for them because they're there for us.
Genesis Diamonds, continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment made between now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
I would have preferred him to talk to him on the side if it was really about the 15-yard penalty.
Right.
Hey, man, you can't do that.
I agree.
You can't. You're hurting us.
But here's one thing.
But he didn't do that.
I'm sitting across from you. And I can't imagine a coach doing that to you. I just can't imagine it. So my whole point is, since they wouldn't do that, why would he do that to that guy? He must have tried to talk to him already.
Could have tried to talk to him already. Could have. But no, coach ain't going to do me that way, and neither are you.
That's right.
Because if you'd have did that, we'd have been scrapping.
Well, if you did that to me, we'd have been scrapping.
Keyshawn Johnson, Stephen A. Smith on First Take. Hey, if Vrabel said that to me, we'd be scrapping, said Keyshawn. The one thing Keyshawn is that we're not, a diva receiver. And Julio in the past has been a diva receiver. By the way, Gentry Estes from the Tennessean tweets out, Julio Jones played for Nick Saban. Y'all. By the way, literally 3 minutes ago. Hi, Gentry.
Hey, Gentry, what's going on?
Julio Jones played for Nick Saban, y'all. I seriously doubt that Mike Vrabel calling his penalty dumb expletive that hurt the team was any worse than Julio would have heard in Tuscaloosa for the same. I doubt Vrabel's words bothered him, just my 2 cents. And I'd say it to you like this. And I'm not comparing Julio Jones to Michael Jordan. But I'm going to guess that what Dean Smith said to Michael Jordan when he was 19 years old compared to what Doug Collins or Phil Jackson said to Michael Jordan when he was older, probably kind of different. In fact, Phil Jackson was talking about the difference between Kobe and Michael one time. And he said, when I started coaching the Lakers, Kobe was 21. When I started coaching the Bulls, Michael was 28. So Michael and I were more like friends, and Kobe and I were more like father and son. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely different to talk about how Julio feels now with all that money in his pocket compared to how he felt then. And all we can go off of is what we know in Atlanta, and it was that he was so mad about the contract negotiations with Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn that he felt disrespected in Atlanta after they made him the highest paid receiver in the league. So I understand that Gentry could say, I don't see how he'd be upset about that, but you're Keyshawn Johnson, a diva receiver, and Keyshawn said, some coach said that to me, we'd be scrapping. Now, the difference is, if Julio went up to go punch Vrabel, Vrabel would kick his butt.
Okay.
Vrabel would kick his ass. So, and I think Julio probably knows that. So I think there was one time where the Titans won a game, and Lawan pushed Vrabel in the locker room after the game, and Vrabel got up and pushed Lawan back, and it was all on camera, and they were, laughing about it, but it definitely, the shove that Vrabel gave Lawan.
It was, laughing but very serious.
Yeah, no, Mike Mularkey is not shoving Taylor Lawan like that, but it's kind of sit down. 615-737-1025. Let's go to your phone lines. Text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
T from Clarksville texts in and says, Clowney, Beasley, 2 unproductive draft classes so far. The horrendous Isaiah Wilson pick. Now maybe Julio Jones. Robinson and Vrabel may need a new philosophy when bringing guys in.
So I have said this about Robinson, and I will say it again. I think he's a good general manager. You have 5 winning seasons in 5 years. It wasn't like he inherited the Barry Switzer Dallas Cowboys and won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's players. He took over the worst team in the league. That having been said, what they're getting out of the 2 draft classes last year and this year right now is completely and totally inexcusable. And there needs to be some sort of an explanation for that. That bothers me with Robinson more so than the free agent signings. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think Beasley, they were looking for a pass rusher, and somebody convinced them that Beasley cared about football, so they signed him. And I will say, and Floyd said this on the air when it happened, we were at my old house, back during the COVID shutdowns. We were all upstairs at my old house, and Richard Smith was the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons when they went to the Super Bowl. Beasley had 16 sacks that year. Then Richard Smith got fired by Dan Quinn, even though they got to the Super Bowl, because Dan Quinn just thinks he knows everything, and I'd like to ask Dan Quinn how that's working out for him. But so Richard Smith was the defensive coordinator in Atlanta, and Floyd was the best man in his wedding. They were very, very close. So Floyd calls Richard Smith and asks him about Beasley. And Richard Smith said, oh, no, he's a good player. Now he does one thing. He runs off the edge and goes tackles the quarterback. That's all he can do. But if you can get him going, he is legit. Well, if a Richard Smith had given Floyd his stamp of approval on Vic Beasley, Floyd probably would have done it too. The Clowney thing, I blame Vrabel for, because Vrabel had him in Houston. And the concerns with Clowney were that he always gets hurt, that he's not going to be in shape because he's lazy, and that he doesn't care about the team, and that he doesn't get sacks. And all of those things played out. So if I'm Robinson and I never had Clowney, I never coached Clowney, and I got Vrabel telling me, oh, no, Clowney, he'll do this, he'll do that. And Vrabel went on record when this was all coming down and said, oh, yeah, when I was in Houston, I never had any of those problems with JD, and JD was this and JD was that and whatever, JD this, JD that. Then I blame that one on Vrabel. The draft class is Robinson. The Julio one, I don't know who to blame. But I just think that if this doesn't work out because of the commitment level to Julio, it becomes a Matt Duchene level albatross where there's no way out of it. And when there's no way out of it for a general manager or a coach, normally the general manager or the coach gets fired.
And I do think that it could get to that point 100%. I just don't think we're there yet. But Tom texts in and says, question, what other big-name receivers changed teams, and how did they do on week 1 compared to Julio?
What?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure there have been big-name receivers who go to a new team and ball out the first year. I'm sure there are receivers that haven't. You look at Odell Beckham
Philadelphia
in Cleveland.
for years. For years, Philadelphia was the kind of team that they were good enough to be there, but they were never good enough to get where they wanted to go. And then they traded for Terrell Owens. And all of a sudden, Donovan McNabb, who was a decent quarterback, he wasn't a great quarterback, but he was a decent quarterback, and they had a decent defense, and they had Andy Reid as their coach. And so they trade for Terrell Owens, and all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl. Like, that's what you expect with that kind of a move. Like, that's what you are hoping to achieve. The Buffalo Bills had a quarterback, Josh Allen, who they didn't trust to throw the ball much, didn't feel like they had a lot of weapons for him. They sent 4 draft picks to Minnesota to get Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen was an MVP candidate. So, like, sometimes adding the receiver does make a difference.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't or that it's never happened before. I mean, look, Julio could go out to Seattle and have, 7 for 112 and 2 touches and be fine. But it just, I struggle with that right now as far as seeing that as kind of a reality here.
Another texter texts in and says, a diva receiver, Keyshawn Johnson and Julio Jones are completely different people. Julio had a bad game, mostly in part of the one personal foul and the lack of time Tannehill had against the Cardinal rush. Tannehill didn't have any time to get the ball to anyone. Let's pump the brakes and fix the line before we pull the Clowney card on Julio.
Do you think that the pass rushing was the whole problem with the offense? I mean, the offensive line blocking was the only problem to worry about as far as the offense was concerned, and don't worry about anything else.
I think it was the biggest problem. I don't think it was the only problem. I mean, the receivers were definitely a problem. I mean, Julio needs to catch the ball.
Here's the way I look at it. Like, I don't blame Derrick Henry for his rushing performance on Sunday because I saw all those runs and
there were just very few things he could have done.
What are you going to ask him to do? Chester Rogers was more effective than Julio Jones. So that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Todd Downing was sitting there devising the game plan for the Arizona game and said, hey, let's make sure we get Chester the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But Chester's practiced. Chester's had a good attitude. Chester's made the most of his opportunities.
And when you're pressured so hard, just how the Cardinals pressured Ryan Tannehill, you're going to throw to the guy that you feel confident with.
And he was throwing the ball at Chester Rogers a lot, which is exactly what I said in Tampa at the practices.
And also AJ.
He was going to Chester Rogers a lot in Tampa Bay. And so to sit there and say, well, it's the line's fault, forget about Julio, I can't jump on board with that.
You can blame a lot on the line.
Sure.
I don't think that you can blame Julio on the offensive line.
I mean, sure, if the offensive line had clean pockets for Tannehill, Julio and AJ probably would have gotten open more. Yes, but to the point you're making, like, Julio dropped the ball. Julio couldn't get open. Julio got a penalty. That's not Taylor Lewan's fault. 615-737-1025. We're going to get back to your phones on all this coming up next. 615-737-1025. Do you regret the trade as a fan? Do you regret the Julio trade? Plus, and this is the one thing that I do kind of wonder about. Nobody has talked about this except for me. I feel like I'm the only person who's brought this up. And it is a glaring problem with the Titans and something that I wouldn't have considered. I think I would consider now. I'll explain next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans, Seahawks. The Two-Tone Blue seeks a Week 2 victory in hostile territory. Tune in Sunday at 1 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Cool Springs. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and Week 1 may be over, but the season's just getting started. At DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off Week 2, DraftKings is giving all new customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $1 on any football game this week and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new customers $200 in free bets instantly when they bet at least $1 on any football game. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code 1025GAME and receive $200 in free bets when you place $1 bet on any football game. That code again, 1025GAME. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, you must be 21 years of age or older. Tennessee only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Ever heard of a cold-like virus called RSV? RSV can cause complications in older adults, including pneumonia. The Evergreen study is assessing if an investigational study vaccine can prevent RSV disease caused by a respiratory syncytial virus in older adults. If you're 60 years of age or older, you may be able to join the Evergreen study. Visit clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV to learn more. That's clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. There's no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. They're offering credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit and earn up to $1,500 in credits towards a select new system. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credits for your old one. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or Services Free guarantee. Their technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud sponsors of the Nashville Predators, Vanderbilt, and the Tennessee Volunteers.
Your home value is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate. They can pay the closing costs for you and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40,000 or $50,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit cards. Use it to consolidate other debt. Get rid of PMI. Use IT to make your home even more valuable with that home improvement project you've been dreaming about. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero cost option not available on all loans.
Hey Nashville, Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee here, inviting you to tune in on ESPN 94.9 every Monday at 6 p.m. for the Commodore Hour, providing you with exclusive insights on Vanderbilt athletics.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
I didn't have a problem with Vrabel saying what he said because I'm thinking about Julio Jones, and even coming into the season, when he only played 9 games last year, had about 771 receiving yards. The previous 6 years, he had a minimum of 1,394 receiving yards per season and was universally recognized one of the top 2 receivers in football.
Yes.
The previous 6 years. That's how big time Julio Jones is. Here's the downside. What you heard coming out of Atlanta, a guy that didn't practice much, a guy that didn't seem to be on the same page with the coaching staff, that frustrated the coaching staff because of his commitment to the work off the field. I'm talking about work.
I can understand that. No, I get it.
I don't know. I don't cover the Atlanta Falcons.
No, I get it.
You heard those things.
Understand.
That was Stephen A. Smith today on First Take. By the way, watch Stillman and Company live every single day, and you can see it after the fact on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. So First Take going all in on the Julio Jones-Vrabel discussion. And as we said last segment, Gentry Estes, when we went to break, saw a Gentry Estes tweet, kind of talking just out of nowhere. I guess just something popped into his head to send out a tweet and opinion on Julio Jones.
Quite the coincidence.
Steve Lehman, News Channel 5. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Let me say this.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate you.
I do love both guys. I do love Gentry Estes and I do love Steve Lehman. But, hey, Steve.
Hey.
Steve Lehman says, the national discussion of Vrabel calling out Julio Jones for the personal foul is so disconnected to the situation. Vrabel preaches not to do dumb blank that hurts the football team all the time, and the Titans demand that the best players are held the most accountable. Julio Jones came to the Titans in part because of that culture and has even said he appreciates the standard and expects that of himself. Also, I believe Vrabel has a really good pulse of the individuals on his team and what makes them tick. I think he said that in part to prove that no individual is bigger than the team, but I also think he knows that Jones will handle the criticism like a pro. Do you feel that way?
It is really easy to feel that way because, yeah, I know Julio Jones said that, but players say a lot of things.
Oh, my God. Carson Wentz says all the right things, and then he cries like a baby.
They say a lot of things, and who are the kings of saying stuff without saying stuff? The Titans.
Sure.
So I hear them, and I think it's so easy to say that, but I think you have to look a little bit deeper and say, well, Julio said that he expects a very high standard from this team and from himself. You know what you say in job interviews? That you have a very high expectation for this team and for yourself.
I'll just say this.
And I don't know if I'm on board with that.
I'll just say this. I heard what I heard out of Atlanta. And you know where I heard it from, and you know how I got it, talking about you, Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
Once I heard what I heard in Atlanta, now you got to shake that for me. Like, I think everybody else is kind of like, come on now. He played for Nick Saban. Like, he's a Vrabel's, whatever.
Millions of dollars does a lot of things to people.
I'm just...
Years and years of praise and calling you the best wide receiver of this generation can do things to people.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Ryan Tannehill to be able to get through to Julio Jones like he could A.J. Brown, because Julio can look at Ryan Tannehill and be like, get out of here.
Which, that's not how he should act. And no. I'm still standing by my point
and
earlier.
I'm not saying he will act like that.
Right. And I'm still standing by my point earlier that I don't think that Mike Vrabel and the Titans should regret this Julio Jones trade, because I think it's way too early. But I do think that there are some warning signs.
Oh, I think there's some warning. I think there were warning signs before they traded for him, and I'm worried that the warning signs are showing their ugly head. But that's just me.
But it is still early. It is still early. Have you ever spent $15 million on anything?
No.
Okay. Let's pretend that you have.
Okay. Well, how about this? I have spent an exorbitant amount of money that, compared to a $200 million cap, was the same or more of the percentage of my net worth to what $200 million would be.
Hypothetically, you bought a car for $1 million, hypothetically speaking. If you start to find some things that you may not necessarily love about the car after you've driven it for a week, are you going to regret their purchase?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I mean, I bought 3 houses, right?
Okay.
There are things about those home purchases that I was like,
but do you regret it?
Do I regret the purchase?
A week in. You're going to tell yourself, nah, I'm going to give it time. I've invested so much money into this. It's only been a couple of things in only a short period of time.
When you factor in some of the reasons why I bought some of the things I bought, maybe that's not the best. Maybe I'm not the best person to ask.
That's true. Take that out of it.
Gonna ask that question. 615-737-1025, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go to him.
Donovan texts in and says the Titans were not prepared for war on Sunday. Coach Vrabel did not prepare the team during spring season by not allowing them to actually get on the field. It was stupid.
What did he do during the spring season?
I don't know.
Next one.
Okay. Phil says O-line was 95% of the offense's problem on Sunday. Absolutely agree. It's the main reason Julio didn't perform. He didn't have a chance to. Tannehill could only throw checkdowns in his underneath routes.
So how many weeks of the Julio saga of him not putting up numbers do we get until the fans stop making excuses?
Probably 3 or 4.
Okay. That's about right.
Yeah.
Because I went through this with Clowney all the time last year, where I was like, this guy didn't do anything. No, Jared, he is disruptive. No, he's not. He just doesn't do anything. By the way, did you see Clowney on Sunday against the Chiefs?
I did not.
He sucks.
I saw him make one play on Tyreek Hill.
Oh, man. He's so worthless. Oh, my goodness. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, we don't recruit Julio yet, as Caroline said. Just give Julio a chance. He's not a scrub.
Okay, so here's what I would want to say about that. I am giving Julio a chance. But the difference between me and you, and I'm talking about you, the fans, is that Julio has to earn my respect. I know he caught a bunch of passes in his 20s in Atlanta, but he's got to earn my respect. I think for the fans, Julio has everybody's respect, and then if he doesn't show up, then he loses it, and it's like, oh, that was a bad trade. But I've seen too many Carl Pickenses that I'm sitting here saying, you got to earn it for me. That's like Carson Wentz. When did Carson Wentz get all this credit from everybody when they talk about him? Well, you know, in 2017, Carson Wentz was, maybe you need to earn that. You know, this guy's the savior of Indianapolis. He needs to earn it before we give it to him. Tannehill was a backup who took a pay cut, who nobody was thinking anything about, who came in here to play quarterback as we were awaiting to see whether or not they'd go get Justin Herbert or Jacob Eason or one of these guys in the draft to build around. And all of a sudden, Tannehill got him to the AFC title game, and he earned it. And when you hear the things I hear about Julio in Atlanta that I've shared with you, to me, he's got to earn it. So when he's not practicing and the coach is not happy, whether it's beneath the surface with Dan Graziano's take or what Stephen A. said or whatever, if the coach is not happy, you got to earn it because he hadn't done anything for the Tennessee Titans. And I just wish fans would treat it that way. Ask Chris Sanders about Carl Pickens because, Chris Sanders will tell you about when Carl Pickens walked in there, Pro Bowler in Cincinnati. Carl Pickens walked into the locker room and said, hey, I want number 81. That didn't sit too well with Chris Sanders. By the way, when Floyd died, I was at my parents' house, and we moved in high school, and there's just still boxes of things, and it was my senior year, so we were there for like 3 months, and I went to college.
Yeah.
There's an old program from like 2000, the Titans and the Ravens, and there's Floyd's, bio, general manager, executive vice president. Next to it is a full-page ad of Chris Sanders, Carl Pickens, and why is his last name? Corey Fleming. Corey Fleming of the Nashville Cats, which was the Arena League team. They had their little flip phones. It was for some wireless company I have never heard of. And it was like those who know the most about reception. And it was their picture. And
That's a good one.
I loved it knowing how much Chris Sanders hated Carl Pickens and the Titans. And then, I'm looking at this as Floyd died, Chris calls. And, Chris and I talked for a while, obviously, about a lot of different things. And then I told Chris, I was like, hey, I just saw this program, and there's a picture of you, with a phone up to, flip phone up to your ear.
It's also the most, late 90s, early 2000s picture I have ever seen.
I asked him.
Big flip phone and their jerseys.
I asked him what he got out of it. He said he got a free phone.
Well, I mean, at the time, that was probably a pretty hot
back
commode.
then, those phones were probably like $3,000
with an antenna.
Each. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Antenna got to be out.
Oh,
if
yeah.
not, you're not going to have the service. Speaking of Chris Sanders, be sure to join us for the pregame show live from the Corner Pub in Cool Springs on Sunday. The pregame show features Mark Howard, Chris Sanders, and yours truly. Join us from 1 to 3 at the Corner Pub at 9200 Carruthers Parkway before the Titans take on the Seahawks. The pregame show brought to you by TriStar Moving, Parman Tractor and Equipment, FreedomTireGuys.com, FanDuel, E2 Roofing, Hillside Medical, Social Furniture, and Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Caroline's is coming up next. Let's give something away. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025. You'll win a pair of tickets to see Miles Kennedy at Marathon Music Works on Thursday, September 23rd. Caroline's is next.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies heading into the evening hours tonight as temperatures drop back to the upper 60s. Better chance for rain on the way for Wednesday. Scattered showers and storms. Some could be on the heavy side. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car to meet certification standards. A car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. Call today, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. I play at BetUS, and so should you. BetUS.com.
Use code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and pay time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income in just 5 payments? You heard right. In just 5 payments, set up a six-figure retirement cash flow for as long as you live. There's a retirement crisis in America because the pension system of old has been raided and destroyed, and Social Security is already running out of money. Most Americans are shocked to find out they need over $2.5 million to have $100,000 in retirement. A new approach is required to solve this crisis. That's why this revolutionary 5-pay retirement program was released, allowing everyday Americans to use bank money to create a retirement cash flow without relying on Social Security or pensions. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it accelerates the amount they'll have at retirement or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you're over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement in just 5 payments, call Wealth Education Group now at 800-375-3232 to see if you qualify for this brand new program. Plus, as a free bonus, you'll get the 5-pay retirement guide and video. Call 800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232.
Darren McFarland. That should get you in the mood for a game tonight. Willie Donick.
I think between 5.5 and 6 is probably in the ballpark.
Chase McCabe.
Typically, I like to take the most difficult task and do it first.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company, Titans have made some roster moves. Amani Hooker placed on IR. Again, that's the 3-week IR, but not good news.
Not good news.
Amani Hooker placed on IR. Randy Bullock, the kicker who cost the Titans a chance at making it to the playoffs in 2016 when he was the kicker for the Ravens. Randy Bullock signed to the active roster. Tommy Hudson signed to the practice squad. So Randy Bullock's going to do the kicking this week. And I don't know who's going to play safety.
Hop back on the carousel.
There you go. Let me tell all the fine folks out there, hang out with Caroline this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as she previews the SEC football slate with Southeastern Carolines. She will give you her picks of the day and get you set before kickoff around the South. Southeastern Carolines, presented by 312 Pizza Company. What games are you excited about this week?
Well, I would like to say that I am now 2-0 with my locks of the week. I do one lock of the week every week. I'm 2-0 so far. So if you like money, I would tune in if I were you.
Speaking of money, it's time now for Carolines.
Get in on the action. Put the money on the mahogany. What's on tap on the sports books? It's time to break it all down with Carolines. Here on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS. It is my favorite sportsbook, and it has been America's favorite sportsbook for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com. Mention GAME for a sign-up bonus on your first deposit.
Love that.
First, we've got Rays and Blue Jays tonight. Give me the Blue Jays on the money line, minus 135. So the Blue Jays are 12-1 in September so far. They've beaten opponents by an average score of about 9 to about 4. So the Blue Jays have been absolutely dominating so far this month. Vlad Jr. now leads the MLB in home runs after he hit a homer last night. The Rays are putting Drew Rasmussen on the mound. He's 2-1 with a 3.25 ERA in 7 starts. Last outing against the Red Sox, he allowed 6 hits and only 2 strikeouts. Jose Barrios on the mound for the Blue Jays. He's 11-7 with a 3.52 ERA. Last outing, he struck out 8 Yankees. So give me the Blue Jays. Going to take the hot team tonight.
So I'm a big Blue Jays supporter, big Blue Jays believer. I'll take the Jays.
Cool. Cardinals, Mets. Give me the Mets on the money line. The Cardinals are throwing out Jake Woodford on the mound. He's 2-3 with a 4.28 ERA. So he's kind of been bounced around in the rotation, bullpen, minors this season. But the Mets are throwing out Marcus Stroman. He's 9-12 with a 2.87 ERA in 30 starts. So he is one of the brightest spots on this team offensively so far this season, if not the brightest spot in Jacob deGrom's absence. He only gave up 1 run in 6 innings against Miami in his last outing. So I'm going to take Marcus Stroman and the Mets.
Mets are one of those weird teams. I'll take them too, but I struggle with the Mets for some reason.
You're no fun when you copy my picks.
No, I'm not.
Braves, Rockies, give me the Braves minus 158. The Braves are throwing out Touki Toussaint on the mound. He's 3-2 with a 4.11 ERA, second in the majors in homers. So far, the Rockies have John Gray, 7-10, 4.18 ERA. So he is 21-51 away this season. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with the Braves.
I've always been a huge John Gray guy. Like, randomly, I know.
Interesting.
The Braves do the opposite of what you think they're going to do. So with that, I'm going to take the Rockies tonight. Give me the Rockies in the money line. I think they get it done. Tell us about BetUS.
BetUS, it is my favorite sports book, and Caroline's is brought to you by BetUS. It's been America's favorite sports book for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com. Mention GAME to get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit.
That'll do it for us. We are out of here. We are back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, ESPN Radio.